morning. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the AM show together with Benjamin Akakbo. This morning, we'll start by serving you the AM News, the first bulletin on the channel. And after that, Dr. Kwame Asasante, the head of European Studies at the University of Ghana, will join us to serve you breakfast. What do I mean by that? We get into the newspapers and review the stories. Haruna Mumbarak will come your way next with AM Sports, bringing you all the latest updates in the world of sports. And then the big conversations. What's happening in this country that needs us journalists to bisect, dissect, analyze, probe for God and country? Starting with minorities threatening to boycott parliamentary sittings in solidarity with their leader, Dr. Kasolato Forson, who is standing trial for alleged impropriety in the procurement of ambulances. They say presiding judge, Justice Effiasewa Saribuchi, has on 2 occasions denied their leader leave to carry out his official duties, and the court must do the needful. But is the minority justified in taking this stance? And are there implications for government business? What's the way forward? We'll delve into the issues right here on the AM show. Secondly, Minister for Education is set to put before Parliament this week a bill that binds successive governments to continue the free SHS policy. But is the free SHS policy sustainable in its current state? And is the bill necessary in light of Ghana's 1992 constitution that mandates a progressively free education? We will interrogate this as well because we have it on our table. So join us with your comments, with your thoughts, either across all social media platforms or on the phone when we open the phone lines at Joy News on TV. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and welcome to the best breakfast show on the block. Let's start with the AM News. Thanks for joining us. This is the AM News. Details now. The minority in Parliament is demanding an immediate summons of the Electoral Commission to answer questions on challenges rising from the ongoing registration exercise. Their call comes at the back of recent disturbances at various registration centres across the country during the limited voter registration exercise. Just last Friday, the police arrested NDC parliamentary candidate for Ewutu Senior constituency, Phyllis Na Korio Okuno, at the Vote Transfer Centre over alleged possession of arms. In his address on the floor of Parliament on Tuesday, Speaker Alban Bagbin said the issues must be resolved immediately.
We will include the President, the Council of State, the National Security Council, flag bearers, and national executives of various political parties. The security service, particularly the police, and I emphasize, particularly the police. We don't want to see military during election. When there is a need to call them, they will be called. But they should not be at polling or voting centers. Honorable members, the clergy and notable civil society leaders will be actively involved. The signs and signals of happenings in the country are not that of assurance and hope. I shudder when I'm told that people going to write their names carry knives, guns, just to go and write names. What about when we are going to vote? And at the end of it all, the results are announced, and somebody else has carried the day, and not the other. I shudder to picture what will happen.
But Minority Leader Dr. Kasolato Forson says the EC must be dragged to Parliament to answer questions for themselves.
These developments, Mr. Speaker, are unhealthy for our electoral process and democracy and go a long way to ground the public perception of bias on the part of this particular electoral commission. Mr. Speaker, why must this electoral commission always take questionable decisions which create chaos and confusion across the country? Why must this electoral commission always threaten the peace and stability of our dear democracy? Mr. Speaker, I may ask again, why must it take massive pushback from the public and backlash from the electoral commission to always do what is right for the people of Ghana? Mr. Speaker, whilst we acknowledge the electoral commission is an independent body, it must be pointed out in no uncertain terms to the electoral commission that it does not have the independence to make dangerous, ridiculous, and outrageous decisions that can affect the peace and stability of our country and its democracy. It is therefore imperative for Parliament to call the Electoral Commission to order and to save the democracy that we have always protected. Mr. Speaker, the NDC Minority Caucus want to use this forum to demand an urgent committee of the whole meeting with the Electoral Commission and to iron out these concerns before, Mr. Speaker, it is too late.
In other stories, the founder and leader of the Movements for Change, Alan Kojo Kyerematen, has called for change at the December polls. He said the former president, John Dramani Mahama, has had his term and has exhibited all he can do, just like the vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who has had 8 years to also exhibit his capabilities. Mr. Kyerematen said this time, the time has come for a leader with an agenda to transform the lives of the people.
The former trade minister and founder of the Movement for Change, Alan Kojo Kyerematen, was in the northern region on a one-day tour of the area. He met with the clergy, the Muslim clerics, chiefs, and some traders. Speaking at the Abu market, Mr. Kyerematen said the two candidates of the major political parties have had their turns, calling on Ghanaians to vote for the Movement for Change.
When you say former president Mahama Obejina Binyasa, or not yet, Wabaya president Dada, the Obejina Obeye, and I'm the one. Many Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, if you are watching here, Anna Baba or your vice president, you Obejina Yamagana for Mahmoud Obejina. So say the Ghana for Kanyani say, I can't be Papa Kupa wa Ghana.
The United Front Party leader, Akwesi Adai Odike, who was part of the entourage, said the government, instead of buying tractors for farming in the area, has rather used resources to buy land cruisers.
Ghana, you're very funny, Jessica. I got to land cruiser. This is so many about tractors. I'm not pregnant. I got show what Tamale. Now to me, I did play a flop chair at the Tamale airport. Now by here, more Yato at Yato about it. Near the door, I have a ship with Tom. Now, Musumani Baka fire panel. Woman, say a bit to go. Our muffin, Namanya show at your Gumuna show. I think Yano, Omsomana, and show one on Grano. Mamma Yabaya, Omaka to tomorrow. I'm not confused. Now, tell me, I said the ground one.
Earlier, the entourage met with the clergy where Mr. Kyerematen said Ghana needs a plan that will transform the lives of the people.
If you listen very carefully to the majority of Ghanaians, they believe that Ghana needs a plan that will not just bring change, but to bring transformation in our lives. We've now entered into a political season, and it is amazing how politicians are going around making the same promises that they made, which catapulted them into power. But unfortunately, those promises, many of them have not been fulfilled.
A member of the Revolutionary Alliance, Rosalind Ayana, said what the country needs now is a leader with a trade mindset to change the fortunes of the country.
As I drive through Tamale, I see all the greens, all the patchy areas, and I ask myself, in Accra, 1 tomato is 5 cedis. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. And I ask myself, why? Burkina Faso is more of a desert than Tamale. But they are producing tomatoes and onions for our consumption, and we are ashamed of ourselves. So we need someone who has got the trade mindset. And Honorable Alanchirante had the trade mindset. You look at Chakwa, you look at all the other things, Empretech, all those things that he was able to introduce into this country. This is the time for us to give him an opportunity to move us 1 step or 2 steps forward so that we can at least regain our place as Ghanaians. There was a time.
Away from that, Roads and Highways Minister Francis Asensio-Boakye has disclosed 2 ways that the much talked about deplorable Wa Bole Bamboi Road will be fixed. He said a 2-way strategy will involve first fixing the bad portions of the road, mostly riddled with potholes and manholes, and later putting an asphalt overlay to make it a first-class road. Now, speaking in Wa at the start of his tour of the 5 northern regions, where he paid a courtesy call on the Wala overlord Nafusei Niseidu Pelpio IV, he reassured him of the commitment of the president to fix the road and to make it as part of a parting gift to the people of the Upper West region. Join News Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Kambaha.
Immediately he stepped into the living room of the over-century-year-old Wana's palace, Francis Asensio-Boakye, to start his official tour of the 5 northern regions. He was welcomed with a traditional kola, which he chewed with perfection.
And
he was accompanied to the palace by Finance Minister Amin Adam Anta, who first had a taste of the bitter kola, and for Asensio-Boakye to probably learn the rudiments of the tradition of his distant kinsmen from him. The excitement and laughter simmered down and paved way for the Wala overlord Nafusei Niseidu Pelpio IV for his umpteenth time to open up on his most pressing need, the Bole Bamboi Road, an albatross that hung on the necks of all governments.
The deplorable nature of the road makes traveling on it a nightmare in the true sense of the word. A journey from Wa to Kumasi that should ordinarily take a maximum of 6 hours now takes a minimum of 15 hours. The frequent breakdowns on the road of almost all vehicles traveling on it are as a result of the bad road. This has raised the cost of maintenance to both private and public sector transport operators astronomically. This has a direct effect on the lorry fares charged by operators of commercial vehicles. Our farmers incur incalculable losses in transporting their produce, especially perishables.
Francis Asensio-Boakye's response was simple and straightforward. He came on a Fiat laced beneath his long-chested sleeves with a rehashing and unwavering commitment of the President of the Republic to fix the deplorable death-trap Wa Bole Bamboi Road before the end of his reign. The road minister conceded that the road has been on the budget of all finance ministers since the days of yore.
I'm actually very surprised because as a young boy, listening to budget statement, budget speeches in Parliament, Even Kwesi Butwe used to talk about Bole. All the subsequent finance ministers today. That tells us that it is very important. The president indeed pledged that will be his parting gift for Wana and the good people of the Upper West region.
He disclosed 2 ways the road will be fixed.
The first strategy is to fix the bad sections of the road. Then once that is done, then we put an asphalt overlay on the road. And when that is done, it will become a first-class road that will provide solve a lot of problems that this bad road is creating in the region.
The Roads and Highways Minister then rolled out of the War Township and inspected ongoing construction works at the Kamba Bridge and the upgrading of roads in the London municipality.
Now, still on the Roads and Highways, Minister Francis Asenso-Boakye has disclosed that his outfit will deploy an online grievance and complaints lodging system to ensure continuous citizen engagement, speaking at the commissioning of a 670-kilometer EU-funded €35 million project at Dafiama. He stated that it is already the pilot stage and will be rolled out for the rest of the country. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Dafiama.
Government in May 2021 broke the grounds for work to begin on the rehabilitation and maintenance of feeder and farm access roads at Pongu in the one municipality of the Upper West region. The 670 kilometers road project, which covered 8 municipal and districts in the region, were awarded to 3 local contractors and under the European Union Ghana Agriculture Program (EU GAP). The €35 million grant from the European Union aims at improving interconnectivity between areas of production and market centers. After 2 years of working on the roads, they are now completed. Roads and Highways Minister Francis Asenso-Boakye, in a speech before he commissioned the projects at a colorful ceremony at Dafiama in the Dafiama Bure Isa district, enumerated the expected benefits the people will derive from the completion of the projects.
The EU's intervention aims to promote sustainable agriculture, improve livelihoods, and generate economic growth, as well as create stable employment, and also protect resources from climate change and enhance food security. We have made significant progress with 650 kilometers. That's about 98% of the roads completed, resulting in 55% reduction in total travel time. This achievement is a testament to the dedication and hard work of all stakeholders involved.
In addition to the road projects are the construction of 16 community health planning services, CHIPS compounds, and solar-powered boreholes. Ministry of Roads and Highways to deploy nationwide an online grievance and compliance logging system to ensure continuous citizen engagement.
As part of this project, ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Roads and Highways has also developed an online grievance and compliance logging system to ensure continuous citizen engagement. This system will be deployed nationwide to improve public interaction and feedback on road projects.
European Union Ambassador to Ghana, Asha Razali, noted that with the commissioning of the project, it will open up new opportunities for the people, diminish the cost of transport, and halve the traveling time.
It will thus increase the trade of agricultural products and goods and raise, which is of utmost importance, the incomes of the farmer communities. I would like to mention that this intervention also empowering the government of Ghana with innovative planning, execution, and maintenance of the transport investment. Back in 2019, as we have started, it was the first time that the Ministry of Road and Highways adopted the so-called output and performance-based road contracting model. And I've been demonstrated that this design, build, maintain approach is very powerful.
The launch of the EU feeder and farm access projects in the Upper West region a couple of years ago brought along some social tensions in some parts of the region, especially the Sisal Enclave, the area considered to be the food basket of the region and, more importantly, arguably the leading producers of maize in the country, was strangely cut off from the beneficiary districts. There were a series of protests and demonstrations from the chiefs and people of the area. Minister of Finance Amin Adam Anta used the opportunity to appeal to the European Union to provide additional funding for the entire region to benefit from the project.
I have asked the head of the European Union in Ghana to consider expanding this support, particularly to cover the remaining districts of the Upper West region. This is important for us because the EU is a strategic partner to Ghana. And I hope, and I'm confident that Ambassador Irshad and the EU will understand, they will appreciate the strategic importance of a region-wide development.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Dafiema.
Welcome to the business updates for this Wednesday morning. And in our first story, researchers have cited the lack of credit opportunities and effective targeting as some downsides of government's flagship programs. At a workshop organized by the Third World Network to assess the impact of two of such flagship programs of government, Planting for Food and Jobs and the One District, One Factory project, lead researcher for the project, Dr. Faustina Obeng, highlighted the lack of targeted credit support as a major challenge to the two initiatives. There is more in this report.
In 2017, government launched two flagship programs, One District, One Factory, and Planting for Food and Jobs to revive Ghana's domestic manufacturing and agriculture sectors. On Planting for Food and Jobs, the report highlighted the poor credit management system and the lack of available market for produce. The report, which was commissioned by the Third World Network, was on the impact of government's flagship programs in the southern sector. Dr. Faustina Obeng is the research lead for the project.
Although there is a general reach of farmers, because over the years the cost of the inputs of the PFJ increased, we saw that many small-scale farmers who could not access their inputs without some credits could no longer use the package. The package is an improved seeds with a fertilizer, but also with extension support. For many of these improved seeds, they are heavily dependent on fertilizers because they suck a lot of nutrients. And so without being able to afford the fertilizer, even if you afforded the seeds, your productivity would not likely increase. We all see what the slight increase in import bills meant for fertilizers within the PFJ. So we need to have a long-term plan, improving productivity with locally available materials and only supplementing it with a slight fertilizer or mineral fertilization that we can afford.
On the One District, One Factory initiative, Dr. Obeng cited the lack of funding and constant supply of raw materials as a major challenge.
The level of the loan to be able to put up a whole factory, keep the factory running, was the challenge. For some of the factories that are still running, it's because the owners or the management of the factories are injecting additional private funds into the factory. Then the other thing is we assume that raw materials would not be a challenge. Some of the factories are lucky, raw materials is not a challenge per se, but quite a number of the factories are also struggling to access raw materials because it turns out that we don't have an overproduction of crops that would feed into raw material.
Coordinator of the Third World Network, Dr. Yao Graham, details the rationale of the report.
So we saw the initiative as positive. But we also knew how challenging those initiatives are, because it's been tried before, but we are still here for these two initiatives to be tried again. And our hope in launching this research was the big picture objective was to find out how the issue of structural economic transformation informed the design of the two projects. The two projects, do they have a coherence? Are they coordinated in terms of how they are supposed to link up?
And that's it for the business update, and it's a wrap as well for the news this morning. But stay with us. Up next, we have the news review. Do stay.
After a decade of failed attempt, Accra Girls Senior High School will for the first time be on the national stage of the 2024 National Science and Maths Quiz. They had to topple Ganata, Ada SHS, and Ingleshi Amanfro SHS. There was, however, a close shave win for the Tema Methodist Senior High School, who beat one of their competitors, Frafraha Community Senior High, with just a point. They could not hide their joy after the competition.
Great medals! We are great! The most fruitful every time! Great medals! We are great! Honestly speaking, that, like he said, we are here to win. And there we have it. We are here to win. Exactly. And so with the victory that we've gotten from this contest, we hope to correct on our mistakes, and then coming into the contest, that's the national championship, will deliver more and then more than this. I'm so much excited. I can't even express my feelings. So I want to tell the school out there that should prepare for us. So we are coming like a lion to come and.
Can you show schools like Presec, St. Louis, or what? Can you show?
Oh, what? Presec, watch out.
God is in control of everything.
When the cat is not in the house, that's when the mouse fool around. So when the cat is back, the mouse nowhere to hide. So we are going.
Conceding defeat, students of Frafraha SHS say they are proud of their accomplishment, but are hopeful of putting up a strong showing next season.
First of all, we give glory to God for bringing us this far. And then secondly, we like to thank our trainer for everything he put into the team and then even though we didn't win, but it's a 1 point difference, and then the challenge was kind of tough, but we were able to do our best. Yeah, that's what I can say.
So going forward, do you think you can do better than this next year?
Yes, we can do better than this.
Ashaman Senior High School won the last contest with a 20-point gap against O'Reilly Senior High.
So right now, I'm not in myself. I don't know what to say right now.
We knew this contest was for us. We knew it was for us from the beginning to the end. Everything. We knew it was for us.
Do you think you can beat these other big schools in the national?
Who beat them? No challenger. Who beat them?
And do you think you can emerge as regional champions as well?
We will. Simple for us. 100%. It's like bread and butter. Bread and butter for us.
Today's win is massive. And that is all we have prayed to God to give us. Last year, we came to stage a campaign, Ashaman for God's glory. And today, we are here with the same message, Ashaman for God's glory.
All three qualifiers are optimistic and believe so strongly that they are not only going to win the regional championship, but the national championship as well. Well, we live to see that from the Chimota school here in Accra, Adobe Asare.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for the news review. And we're joined by Dr. Kwame Asasante. He is a political scientist and head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. But before I bring him into the conversation, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helps us bring you this segment every weekday. And as always, you know, sometimes when something is given to you free, you don't take advantage. Anyway, so if you're a man, prostate screening is what Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is offering you for free, gratis. If you're a woman, fertility screening. Do you know the status of your fertility? I heard some interesting details yesterday I read about women and what could happen with their fertility and if they had a boy and the transmission of genes from man to woman. But all of that, do you know your status? If you don't, head to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic and get screened for free. Thankfully, they have many branches dotted across the length and breadth of the country. Here in Accra, they are located at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronom Aboyhian behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa, and Esiaman Zama. Their call lines are you ready? 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And the start of the newspaper review, Dr. Kwame Asasante joins the conversation. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. How are you, my brother?
I am well. It's a wet morning. I hope you're well too.
I'm very well.
God be praised. Quickly, we shall take your brief thoughts for the morning and then move on to other things. One of the things that has been on my mind, not to give you direction, but the whole bit about the Amenfi East, I believe, parliamentary candidate of the MPP. And I'll not stop talking about it. I would have spoken about it if it had been anybody else. And the dastardly comments about attacking soldiers and other officers of the law by illegal miners. He comes out to say, oh, I was referencing legal miners. But guess what? A soldier, in the aftermath of what he said, has been attacked, nearly killed. Your thoughts, anyway, on what you'd like to share.
Ben, I think that's an important subject. I've dealt with it on your network already, but I will touch on something equally important. That is you recall that I think yesterday, the majority leader proposing a bill relative to free senior high school, that they want to make it a law now, that no government, which comes after this government, will, by law, will have to implement that and all that. Beautiful idea. Yes, you want to really deepen education in this country and the rest of it. I am happy. But first thing first, there are things we need to do as a state. It's not necessarily the case that you want to promote the law so as to make that right justiciable. So that is not only prescribed in the Constitution, but is giving protection by the law court. All those fine legal arguments we follow. But basic things first. What are the basic things? This program, in spite of its benefit, we've realized that there are a lot that we need to do in terms of overhauling it. Resource, infrastructure, and then timely release of resource to the schools and all that. These things are critical things that we don't need to shove them under the carpet. So I would love to see a situation where we deepen these things very well, not necessarily passing a law. Let us remember that already this program is on. If you read Article 25, 1B, it said education will be made progressively free from all the primary, senior secondary school and all that. And if you look at Article 38.3, it said yes, pre-university education to university education, the state will take steps to make sure that they promote that equal access or not. But there's something that the Constitution says, and permit me to touch on it briefly. It said the state shall, subject to availability of resources, provide equal access and balanced access to secondary and other appropriate pre-university education. So it tells you that there are certain basics you need to get it right. Let us have what? Resources, and then be able to drive this program to its logical conclusion. not only resources, but we should be able to release them on time. Time and again, we have had schools that the resources are not available. We don't have food, we don't have this. Let us make sure that we have those things in place. Let us make sure that there is what? Feeding is consolidated in secondary schools. And you and I have suggested the idea of bringing back a school guarding system and all that. This will help, go a long way to help. And then motivation of teachers. You need to motivate them so that they give their all to support the program. That is critical. So we are talking about remuneration, attractive. Of course, we also need congenial atmosphere so that teaching and learning can take place. And of course, we also need teaching and learning materials. You and I are alive to the situation that some of the schools do not have certain books and all that. And when the program even started, there were no textbooks. It took government a while before they started producing books and all that. I don't know whether now all the components of the books that they require, they have them. We need to do all this thing and then have infrastructure development in these schools. Once we are able to do this, anything that you want to add to the law, it's fine. But other than that, please, let us stay where we are and then deepen the infrastructure development, deepen the basic resources that we need to push the frontiers of education. I think that is a way to go.
Well, thank you very much. So just a quick question. If I asked you, should free SHS be made into some sort of law, as some are suggesting? And of course, you can understand someone wants a legacy to continue. The free SHS idea is not bad. Like you mentioned, FQ, even from our constitution. But in its current state, and it's a conversation we're having this morning, in its current state, is it fit for purpose? And again, is this something that should be hung around the neck of governments to come, preventing them maybe from exercising certain changes? What is your take?
I think change is always necessary. The program, there's nothing wrong about the program. What is wrong about the program is that it lacks resources, it lacks proper planning, it lacks evaluation and all that. Let's get all those I's dotted and cross all the T's. Once we do that, and then hanging it around the neck of government, the Constitution has given us a clue. Article 38(3), it said, look, subject to, look at what? The state shall, subject to availability of resources. Do we have the resources to do what we are doing? That is the conversation we need to start first before you make it something around the neck of every government. Otherwise, then you are not fair to your own self. Do you have the resources? It's a good program, but do you have the resources? Should government forget about everything and push all the resources there for the state to die and all that? You need to do all the fine, working around this program so as to bring the best. Otherwise, I think we have to go slowly and make sure that we consolidate it and we firm its root to let it stand.
Let's get into the papers now, and I'm going to start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The first story there breaks my heart. You know, sometimes we're our own devils. Sabotage, thieves vandalize, steal oil from transformers, plunge parts of Sekondi Takoradi metropolis into total darkness. It's a story I will do. Ambulance case, minority to boycott parliament in solidarity with Atuforsen. Government to push for passage of free SHS bill by parliament to make it legally enforceable. And Togolese political party visits Ghana to seek support for restoration of democracy. Quick thought, though, on this bit about free SHS. Maybe we should legislate as well on some things like abundant projects and ensure that when one administration starts something that is good, we have to continue. Because if you're going to legislate on free SHS, which I don't necessarily disagree with, how about Saglemi? How about the housing projects that Kufuor started? How about the myriad projects that, look at the bank hospital in cantonments. I actually personally, many years ago, had to make a lot of noise about that. I don't get it. So if we want to legislate on this, then we must use common sense as well and legislate on things like projects so that you can't come and refuse to do certain projects. I mean, in a certain category.
Even there, you know that the Constitution mandates all governments, successive government, to complete programs that had already been started by previous government. And they are refusing.
Yeah.
I mean, That hypocritical position, we need to abandon that.
Right. So let's get into the stories. There's also Togolese political party visits Ghana to seek support for restoration of democracy. So presidential candidate of the Togolese Movement for Restoration, Dr. Jean-Emmanuel Gnagnon, has arrived in the country to confer with some key institutions and individuals to seek their support for the restoration of democracy in his country. Dr. Gnagnon is being accompanied by his running mate, Advocate Brice Afacho Kpoto, and some executives of the MTR, or as the French would say, MTR. The team would interact with the National Peace Council, the Christian Council, and civil society organizations and governance, among others. They would also meet Sheikh Dr. Osman Nou Sharbutu, the national chief imam, to seek his support on how to deal with the political crisis currently raging in Togo. Doc, you're fairly familiar, I believe, with the issues there and the tweaks as far as the constitution is concerned. And for Nyasingbe continuing in power. Two people, his father, Eyadema, and now he himself ruling for how many decades now? I'm not even sure, whether it's 4 or 5 or maybe even 6. It's quite an interesting picture in Togo. But let me add some of the other stories. So the government will, in the course of this meeting of Parliament, present to the House the Free Senior High School Policy Bill. The Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, has indicated. Mr. Afenyo-Markin mentioned that though the Constitution provides for the pro-poor education policy, enacting the bill would render it legally enforceable. In a parliamentary leadership engagement with the Parliamentary Press Corps in Accra yesterday, the Afutu MP said it was critical to commit successive governments to the policy so as to continue giving the Ghanaian child the platform to get educated irrespective of their financial background. Like I said, then let's broaden the scope. Let's help the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission, to actually follow through on projects. Then we'll have a way, not this bit about being selective and maybe legacy, because of course, if you read between it, someone wants a legacy left. We have no problem with that, but can we extend it to others who also wanted a legacy for other things? We can do that so that the taxpayer stops bleeding. Doc, let me just add this one and then we can get into the details. Let me go to page 9. I'll add one and later add another one. So thieves vandalize steel oil from transformers, plunge parts of Sekondi Takoradi metropolis into total darkness. Parts of Sekondi and the Sekondi Takoradi metropolis in the western region were on Monday plunged into total darkness after suspected thieves vandalized and siphoned oil from the transformers serving the area. They damaged the 200 kilovolt amperes ground-mounted transformer and drained oil from the 2 transformer switches connected to it. According to the district manager of the Electricity Company of Ghana for Sekondi, Mr. Martin Jan, the oil siphon was critical to the functioning of the transformers. He says the oil cools the windings in the transformer and also serves as an insulation to the coils in the transformer, he explained to the Ghanaian Times in an exclusive interview yesterday. But I'm asking myself here, Doc, what kind of protection do we give these transformers, knowing how expensive these items are? And how it's coming from taxpayers' money. Anyway, your quick thoughts on these 3 stories. Free SHS, you've already started talking about it. And then this sabotage Togolese. And then Togolese party.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that we are experiencing this. It's becoming one too many. You and I know that anytime there is a lorry accident, you see people, especially vehicles carrying oil. As soon as there is accident, people rush there with their gallons, bottles, containers, go and siphon oil. I mean, this practice has been on. Now look at the level we have taken it to. If you extend the conversation to what drainage that we have in this country, you will see the covers, people are removing them. If you pay attention to even roads, you see some of the metals they use in construction of the road by separating certain things in there. What do you call the one near Legon, going to Medina, is also attacked there. So there is a certain culture where people are taking undue advantage and then, destroying the state gradually. But we as a society must rise up and then get them, apprehend them, and hand them to appropriate authorities. I think that's the way out. One day I was driving and I thought there was a gutter there that was covered, and only realized that I've run into the gutter without covers. People have removed these things. I mean, and it's unfortunate. I think all of us should assist the security and get these people arrested. They are the enemies of the open society. We need to get them out. The issue of Togolese party coming here to, as it were, get some tutorials about how to restore democracy.
You know, that actually reminds me of the days of Olympio.
Yes. 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 A lot of people come here for tutorials, I mean, for democracy. And then you remember, even before independence, the struggle for independence here was gradually becoming a mecca of training for revolutionaries to go and topple their government in the era of colonialism. So gradually, for me, these things also gladden my heart in the sense that then it tells you that Ghana is gradually becoming a beacon of democracy. We need to hold on to this, not only just be excited about that factor, but we need to deepen the democratic culture, strengthen the institution, and make it work, and then deliver the good that the public needs. That is all that we need. The Togolese, I think it's a good step. They need to learn and learn fast, and also borrow from experiences of other jurisdictions, so as to walk the talk. It's a difficult one, because if you look at how the Yadima's family has entrenched itself for a very long time, it's a cause to worry. But my worry also is the fact that African leaders, especially the sub-regional body, ECOWAS, has sat down and had done nothing to deal with this third-term agenda, where people want to rule beyond what the Constitution gives them. They tweak the Constitution and have forever tenure of office, and then the rest of them. This is unfortunate. So our leaders must put their foot down and stop the hypocrisy by allowing those elements to reign supreme in the sub-region, and then develop democracy. Yes, I am for democracy any day, any time. Even though I acknowledge that democracy is not foolproof, it has its own problems. But for me, compared to other systems of government, I'll go for democracy, because it is the only game in town in this time around.
Let's get into other stories very quickly. We'll grant equity stake in mineral resources to chiefs on page 8 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. That's according to Dr. Baumia. The Vice President and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, has proposed granting equity stakes in mineral resources to traditional leaders within the respective jurisdictions. Now, the development, according to the Vice President, would be a major solution to tackling illegal mining activities in the country. He also explained that the involvement of traditional leaders in land management in collaboration with their district assemblies could serve as a deterrent to illegal miners who would often exploit loopholes in regulatory systems. Dr. Baumia spoke at an engagement with professional bodies as part of his tour of the Ashanti region. Not a bad idea, Dr. Vice President, but he could start with the parliamentary candidate for Amenfi East and what he's been saying about beating up officers of the law when it comes to illegal mining. You could start from there. Krowo MP welcomes Mahama's promise of timely delivery of essential supplies to fishers. The Member of Parliament for the Krowo constituency in the Greater Accra region, Dr. Nam Mumulate, has hailed former President Mahama for his decision to ensure timely delivery of essential supplies to fishers in his next government. She said her constituency, with a rich fishing heritage, had been on the downward spiral, or a spiral, so to speak. And upholding such commitments as envisioned by the former president was the only way the industry could be revived. I believe she's an NDC member of parliament, so fine. I mean, NDC to NDC. But my question then would be for the former president. While you were president, what did you do in this regard? The rhetoric? And then I'll end with this, since they are all political stories, then we can move on. Ambulance case, minority to boycott parliament in solidarity with Dr. Forson. The minority caucus in parliament has served notice it would boycott proceedings of the House anytime its leader, Dr. Kasilato Forson, who is standing trial in the ambulance case, is due for court. Now, the caucus explained that the decision follows the refusal of the trial judge, Efia Sewa Asariboche, to grant a request from lawyers of Dr. Forson for the leave of the court to enable him to attend to, quote, important parliamentary business yesterday. And they say as long as this continues, they will continue to boycott Parliament. Quick thoughts, Doc?
Yeah, I think the minority position is a difficult one for me to take.
Right.
Yes, I agree that you want to, give moral support to your colleague to fight a battle in the court. Fine. But is it the case that all the time that the gentleman goes to court, you want to abstain from the proceedings of Parliament? That is unfair. And that, for me, I think is unfair. Yes, because touch wood, imagine any of the leaders is sick. Somebody will obviously walk into the shoes of that person to let the business of Parliament continue. You will not say that, yes, because the person is sick, you'll be at the hospital forever before, he recovers and all that. Same way, I don't think that if this case is to travel so many months, you are saying that you are not going to Parliament. Is it fair? Are you doing the representation function of the people? Are you serving their interests? I think they have to look at that. For me, I don't get it. I think that, yes, you want to, lend your support to your colleague, fine. You can go there, but come and work. And that is why you were put there. And for me, they should look at this again.
Okay, all right. On the back page, we deserve win over Central African Republic. Otto Addo says so in that thriller in Ghana, where, in fact, Jordan Ayew netted 3, and now he scored 4 in 2 matches. There's also Manasseh Augustine wins PGA Masters Tourney, and Mofa Productions rolls out Euro's documentary. It's a Moses Fuamwening Productions is set to roll out a special documentary series on the upcoming European Championship Germany 2024 on Ghana television. Let's get into other papers very quickly. The Daily Guide, Ashanti goes wild for Bawumia. Kennedy joins campaign. Okujatua Blakwa dragged to Shraj. NACOC impounds 166.88 kilograms of cocaine at the Kotoka International Airport. Arrest 2. Do you know what that means? 166.88 kilograms. If you don't get worried, then you may have forgotten that at a point we were on the verge of being declared a narco state many years ago. You remember the Kokunte getting missing. You remember for a while we were put on several watches. We were even blacklisted, if I recall correctly. So this is a great cause for worry. And once you start doing these things on the international level, you make it difficult for travelers. Because now, ordinary Joe, you are traveling and then there'll be... I remember an incident where at some airport, we're being searched like crazy just because of the country we were coming from. Not Ghana, but we were returning from a certain country. And that country, so the search was brutal. I mean, people felt very invaded. But that is what happens when these things are going on in your country. But let me get to the details. There's also free SHS bill in the offing and then the ambulance case. I'll go to the first one. Ashanti goes wild for Bawumia. So the popularity of the new Patriotic Party flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, once again came to bear when he visited the Swami Mazin in Kumasi to campaign yesterday. A sea of enthusiastic people in the enclave came out in their numbers to welcome the MPP flag bearer, who was clearly impressed about the warm reception that was accorded him. The crowd, which consisted mainly of artisans, had left their shops just to show their love and affection for Dr. Bawumia, who has been widely praised for his exceptional performance as the vice president for almost 8 years. Interestingly, some of the artisans who were on Cloud 9 met Dr. Bawumia's convoy at the Swami roundabout and followed him to the venue of the meeting where their colleagues were waiting. You know, one thing I have learned, though, about Ghana is that crowds, it's like Sir John said, fear delegates, but in this instance, fear voters. I've seen instances where you would see the NDC with huge crowds. They can lose in that same area. You go to places, you see the people with huge crowds, and I don't know, you're a political animal as much as I am. So when I come to you, I know you'll reflect on that. But then, in an intelligence-led operation by the Narcotics Control Commission and the UK National Crime Agency on Monday, June 10, 2024, a 166.88 kilogram stash of substance suspected to be cocaine has been intercepted at the Kotoka International Airport. The substances, with an estimated street value of $6,480,000, were seized from the luggage of 2 British nationals traveling together. Information from NACOC indicated that the individuals identified as Hall Shamin Ethelene and Graham Omar Adel were both passengers on a British Airways flight bound for Gatwick in London. It said the intercepted drugs were concealed in checked-in luggage. Mind you, checked-in luggage, comprising 3 bags per passenger, each bag containing 24 parcels. Hall Etheline's luggage included bags 734134. It goes on into certain details. But both passengers have been arrested and are currently assisting with ongoing investigations. I hope so. I hope so. And I hope that somehow they don't disappear. And I hope that somehow UK intelligence, because it is clear that if UK intelligence hadn't stepped in, with their checking in and all of that, who knows? And you see how they will prevent it because they know it is headed towards their country. But if it were headed somewhere else, who knows? Your thoughts? Baumia and then the cocaine.
Yes, I think the cocaine thing. We have been free for a very long while. So we are getting worried when we begin to have this type of illicit activities taking place here. We will urge the security apparatus to put their foot down and then make sure that anybody who crosses that line will not be spared. We need to enforce the laws rigidly to save the image of our country and ourselves, and then save people who travel all the time from going through unnecessary searches and the rest of it. Sometimes it's very inconveniencing and annoying, but hey, what do? You have to bear it. So I'll urge the security people to work effectively, as always. Let's look at the issue of Baumia visiting Kumasi. As usual, is to be expected, but he should not be deceived into believing that the crowd that you see going to translate into vote. In propaganda, if you study propaganda techniques, you mentioned that where people take pictures of crowd and splash it on television screens and all that, for you to know that the right-thinking people are here. So why don't you join? It turns out to be what? Nothing but what? A lie. It's nothing but what? Bandwagon effect. So that they tell you that, yes, the more people are here, right-thinking people are here, why are you at the other side? Is it always the case? We look at the work you have done. Election is based on what? Your work. It's a referendum of your work. And then ideas, contest of ideas.
But he says he's been touted as the best performing VP in this Fourth Republic. So if you say work, is that not his work?
I know that one of the grounds for selecting a vice president, if you check all over the world, is that you are going to complement the ticket of the president. You are going to strengthen where he is weak. So you bring on board certain skills or knowledge that the president doesn't have. The president said all over that he brought him in as what? As somebody with knowledge in economics.
The economic whiz kid.
Today, yes, is that what we are seeing today? I think my vice president, your vice president, is more of an technology or digital man than the economics that we know is supposed to play. That is the reason. There are about 4 reasons why we select a vice president to partner the president. And one is that you bring in something to augment what the president has. And then you also have capacity so that in the event that the president is not continuing, you will follow up and then step into his shoes and then take charge of the country. So back to what I was saying, the real issue is that voters do not vote based on what you tell them, but what they see, what they feel. And these translate into things like how well is the economy, which has direct bearing on their lives. They want to check that. Are the fundamentals okay? Are they weak? When they are weak, they will expose you, right? And they will vote against you. Do they have the fair share of infrastructure development, which the Constitution says they should have? Is it the case? The fight against corruption, have you been able to win that fight? Or is just a talk show or a lip service you are paying? So all these things will come up. So I think it's not that simple. You should be sober on these things and reflect. And then I've realized that he has started promising.
For example, when I look at the Ghanaian publisher, and I fear for both the former President Mahama and the current Vice President, both flag bearers of their parties. Because some of the promises, I listened to the promises and I asked, you want to do a promising spree? If you look at the Ghanaian publisher, Bawumia pledges Herbal Medicine Fund. I mean, all kinds of things are being said. On the digital fund, I think one of those I heard, 1 million jobs in the digital for youth. Then the former president, like we read, fishermen, so many promises are being made. And sometimes I ask, is it just that we've got to the point where we must make promises, whichever the promises may be or whatever they may be, just to court attention? Or we have a focused regime where you make promises along, you see, you can have a trajectory so that you can see that promise A feeds into promise B, B feeds into C. So there's a synergy. But some of them, they are so haphazard. I don't know, but maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe.
No, you are thinking right, because if you look at the promises that they give and compared to the previous ones, mostly the same, and they remain unfulfilled, then you ask yourself, why are you promising again? It tells you that a lot of thinking do not go into this. They think that when you promise, you keep on promise. But this time around, you and I will push them to that level where you work out the mathematics so that we know how you're going to fund it. If there is a need for funding, where is it going to come from? At what point in time should we expect that? So that it's not that simple and you deceive our people into believing that the promises alone is what they should go home with. No.
Right. There's this story I have to blaze through because our time is practically up. Okudzeto-Ablakwa dragged to Shraj. The Member of Parliament for North Tone constituency, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has been dragged to the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice by the Deputy Director of Communications for the MPP, Ernest Kofi Owusu-Bempah-Bonsu. The petition is to expose an alleged conflict of interest, breach of constitutional provisions, as well as deception and non-compliance with the Code of Conduct for public officers. The petition, signed on Friday, June 7, 2024, by Ernest Kofi Owusu-Bempah-Bonsu, alleged that Mr. Ablakwa was the director, sole shareholder, and beneficial owner of Volta Clenham Farms and Industries Limited, which was incorporated on September 2, 2021, violating the Constitution of Ghana, which forbids MPs from holding any other office of profit. I also know that, is it Imani Africa, is being hauled to substantiate some claims made against the Electoral Commission when it comes to the biometric devices of the Electoral Commission. That story is also in the Ghanaian publisher, Ablakwa dragged to Shraj. Then there is Bawumia pledges Herbal Medicine Fund and Housing Hydrology Conference set for July. Then there's in the Accra Times, and I'm wrapping, Bagman to engage EC and Security Council, ensuring free, fair, and credible elections. And there's also this one, La Bianca boss is dead. That's according to the new publisher. News started filtering in from yesterday. May her soul rest in peace. And just something I'll add from the international front as an opinion. I shared somewhere yesterday. You see how former President Trump has been convicted. First time a president, former president, convicted of a felony. First time in American history. Then Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, also convicted, for his use of drugs and the possession of a firearm and all of that. First time a sitting president's child, has been convicted. And I ask myself, in this country, look at what is happening in another jurisdiction. The democracies we emulate. But in Ghana, you'll be hearing people waxing lyrical about due process. Do you think there they observe McCarthyism? Is that what they observe there? But you still can't get your foot away from it. If your foot has to face the heat of the fire, it will. It will. Quick thoughts on these last matters, and then we're good to go, Doc. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, are you with me? All right, so Doc is just reconnecting. We'll get back to him. But let me quickly do this. A very happy birthday, and let me just get this together, to Yakoba Nelly Ajeman. Today is your birthday. A very happy birthday to you, Grandma. God richly bless and keep you, and may you live long. Why am I tempted to call you Yakoba Nelly Ajeman the first? Anyway, happy birthday to you. and may God continue to shower his blessings upon you. Long life, health, and everything good. I would also like to, before Doc reconnects with us, celebrate the Malawi Vice President. I just found out yesterday, courtesy of Daniel Yadomelevo's post on Facebook, that he's a staunch Catholic, was in church every day doing mass, something some of us used to do, serving, leading the rosary and all of that, even as Veep. So humble. And unfortunately, this is what has happened. We commiserate with the people of Malawi as well. Doc, I don't know whether you heard my final comments about Trump and Biden before you went off. Well, it's unfortunate, but food for thought for all of us. We want to emulate other democracies, and yet we are always due process and will never convict anybody because of due process. Before we veer into sports, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helps us bring you this segment every weekday morning. And today they are offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Reach out to them at any of their branches starting from here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakwade Anaji Estate, Tema, Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zama. You can reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports is up next. You want to stay.
Time for sports on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, Comoros have leapfrogged Ghana to take the top spot in Group I of the qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup. This follows their 2-0 victory over Chad last night. They are now level on points with the Black Stars but sit at the summit on goal difference. Up next for Ghana in the qualifiers is the match against Chad in March 2025. Meanwhile, head coach of the Black Stars, Otuado, is calling on Ghanaians to be patient with the players as they will need time to become a force to be reckoned with.
Normally, we say Rome wasn't built on one day, so it takes time. Everything takes time, and hope that the Ghanaians give us the time to build, to work together. And it's always difficult because after this, the guys will be on a deserved break. Then they will go to their clubs, having their coaches will have different ideas again, and then I will come again, and then I will bring another idea. So it's difficult to say, how things will go because, and this is what makes it maybe a little bit difficult for the players. I'm not playing one style and that's it. I always look where are the solutions, where are the dangers, and what do we have to change maybe. I can guarantee you we won't play the same way against Chad like we did today because Chad plays different, 100% different than Central African Republic. So, and I know that the players, we have a lot of young players, they will grow, they will learn to adapt very, very fast. This is the key, to adapt very fast and then to take the right decisions in the right moments, to recognize situation and then to take the right decision in this moment. This is very, very difficult, but like I said, we have a very, very young squad and they will learn and they will get better, and I'm very, very hopeful that it will be better the next day.
On the continent, former Ghana coach James Kwesi Appiah has guided Sudan to the top of Group B after beating South Sudan 3-0. Elsewhere, South Africa defeated Zimbabwe 3-1 to go joint top of Group C, while Morocco put 6 past Congo to remain at the top of Group E. Highlights for you.
Drilled in. Look at a second chance here. Good shot and another good save by Al Mustafa. Terrific start to the game by South Sudan. The goalkeeper just trying to calm down his teammates. Taken short again. Maybe good ball in! And that's in, is it? Cannon back off the underside of the crossbar. What a start to this game. Here's a chance though. Great save by Mawat. over the bar. Well, that was cataclysmic defending by South Sudan. Take it to the edge of the penalty area. Dinked in. First time shot, oh dear. Complete air kick. Still with Sudan. Teasing ball in, that's the header, and that's the opening goal of the game. 1-0 to Sudan. It's a lovely pass and a great first touch. He's still going. Play on, says the referee. And they do. 2-0. Oh, my word. Hammer blow. Sudan double their lead. Here they come again. Nice cut back. 3-0. It's just too easy. Sudan are going through the South Sudan defence like a hot knife through butter. South Sudan 0, Sudan 3.
Are hosting their neighbours, the Warriors of Zimbabwe, in a World Cup qualifier that both sides need to win. Modiba firing the ball. Oh, it's taken over. This could be an early chance. It is. It's an early goal. 1-0 to South Africa. Reina making no mistake. What a mistake from the Zimbabwe defence. Can Zimbabwe come back? This is a good chance. Oh, it's level already. Not even 2 minutes on the clock and Zimbabwe have levelled. Extraordinary stuff. Oh, nice work by Chirewa. He's off. Now he's got a bit of pace. He's in the area. The shot comes in. Williams, good save. Had to move sharply then. Little lay across for Chirewa. Nice touch from Chirewa. Oh, not too far wide. Oh, the cross comes in. It's Gusent's in. That is it. It was coming. Terrific work, and it's their substitute, Morena, who has the goal. Oh, that's a great ball through the middle. Is this going to be 3? It is. That's a super goal from Morena, his second of the evening. South Africa lead by 3-1. That was a special ball through the middle. South Africa have won this match against Zimbabwe by 3-1. Excellent performance, terrific entertainment from both sides.
With a 100% record up to this point. One of the heroes of Morocco's World Cup campaign. Morocco have another hero. Atadine Unai opens the scoring early on. Here was Ziyech. Cross-come shot. It's still in the danger area and it's still not totally cleared. Makuta looks to get rid of it. It's going to drop and it's going to be put into the bottom corner by Shadi Riyad. The Barcelona defender doubles Morocco's lead. And here they come again. Hakimi into the middle and it is 3. Ayoub El Kaabi returns to the 11 and returns to the score sheet. Wouldn't know it. Wouldn't know it. It's 4 now. They're running away into the distance. El Kaabi with a second. Morocco flying high. It's laid off instead to Unai, who flicks it back in cleverly, and it's 5. Morocco pick up where they left off in the first half with a 5th goal, and it's a hat-trick for Ayoub El Kaabi. Job done. He'll head to the sideline to be replaced by the number 9, Soufiane Raimi. Here they come again. Substitutes immediately involved, and the number 9 makes it 6 with his first involvement. Raimi. Congo with a heavy loss. Morocco 6-0 winners.
Away from the qualifiers to women's football, and Black Princesses forward Salamatu Abdullahi could be the next big star from the northern part of Ghana after her recent successes with Sweki United in Malta. Joy Sports Lawrence Beiru tells the story of the youngster.
In 2022, Salamatu Abdullahi spearheaded the Black Princesses campaign as they achieved qualification to play at the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Costa Rica. Unlike other female footballers who had difficulties choosing the sports, Salamatu's path was a straightforward one.
So I began playing football when I was a kid. That was when I was 5 to 7 years. So beginning it as a child, it was not easy, but due to the help of my parents, everything was working for me. Yeah, we normally face challenges, but like I said, my dad was a coach, so I didn't find it that difficult playing football because he used to help buying football kits for me.
She thrived at Baga Baga Ladies in the Women's Division 1 League before a move to Northern Ladies. Salamatu would go on to become one of the key players in the national team, with the Black Maidens the starting point for the determined youngster.
So I was in Baga Baga Ladies and the U17 national team came up, the call-up came up. So I had the call-up before I moved to Northern Ladies. Before, I never had a call-up to the national team. I used to pray hard, train hard to be able to be part of them one day. And definitely when the list came out and I was there, that whole night I couldn't sleep. The excitement, everything was like, it was just overwhelming. I couldn't sleep. So I have to inform my mom, my friends, some of my friends who was close to me. Then we're so happy that night.
Playing alongside the more famous Mukarama Abdullahi at the Under-20 World Cup in 2022, she was hoping to make a name for herself, but that didn't go as planned.
That was my first time of being in the World Cup, especially our first match against Japan. It was really tough. Going back to the camp, I couldn't sleep. I have to think, and suddenly I just let me just say, I felt there was a lot of tears on my face, and that's the game. You have to keep on, then you motivate yourself. Next time you have to do better than what you did there.
Salamatu made the move to Malta, where she signed for Sweki United in the latter part of the 2022-2023 season. She won the domestic cup in her maiden season. The just ended one, her club failed to claim any laurels, but individually, she swept many accolades, playing for the youth and senior teams.
So this is the youth side, player of the month. That was, September, player of the month for the youth. And so that is it, player of the month for September. So this, should I pick it? This is for MFA, player of the month of September and October. And this was Malta best 11. And this was the top scorer. This is the youth player of the year season. And this is best player of the season for my Sweki United.
Looking forward to what lies ahead, the 19-year-old desires a spot in the senior national team, the Black Queens. For Salamatu, her journey with the Black Princesses may not be over after all. She is expected to join the team in camp as they prepare for the 2024 Women's Under-20 World Cup to be staged in Colombia. Ghana is drawn in Group E, where they will face Japan, New Zealand, and Austria.
To club football, Erik ten Hag will remain as manager of Manchester United following a post-season review by the club's board. It is understood they are now talking to ten Hag about extending his contract, which is about to enter its final season. United instigated their review immediately after the FA Cup final. United finished 8th last season, their lowest position in the Premier League era. although they suffered the most injuries with 45 separate cases recorded, a fact Ten Hag often cited for some below-par displays. He has won 2 trophies in 2 years for the Red Devils. And that's your sports on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into our big stories. And the minority is set to boycott parliamentary sittings in solidarity with their leader, Dr. Cassio Atto-Forson, who is standing trial for alleged impropriety in the procurement of ambulances. Now, they say the presiding judge, Justice Ifiasewa Asariboche, has on 2 occasions denied their leader leave to carry out his official parliamentary duties, and that the court must do what is needed. But is the minority justified in taking this stance, in adopting this stance? And are there implications for government business? What's the way forward? How do we delve into the issues? Well, joining us, we have Bobby Banson. He's a lawyer. He joins the conversation. We also have in the studio Peter Nochu Koto. He is a member of Parliament, of course, and he is a member of the Education Committee of Parliament. He'll be joining us on thoughts in respect of the minority's position, and later on the next belt, also delve into the educational matters. Bobby Banson, a very good morning to you. Bobby, can you hear me? If you may have to unmute. All right. Bobby Banson, we'll try to get back to you. I think the internet connectivity is a bit patchy. But what has happened? What has brought us here? The minority in Parliament is saying that time and again they feel disgruntled about some of the approaches adopted by the court in respect of their leader, Dr. Cassio Atto-Forson. Twice he's requested leave to deal with official business. He's not been granted such leave, and they feel it is impeding their work and also impeding their position in Parliament. And as of yesterday, they made it clear. A number of them thronged the court, and they made it clear that if this continues, then every time the minority leader is in court, they will boycott till he is back from court. There's also the issue of the admissibility of some recordings that the third accused, A3, Richard Jakpa, wants to be aired in open court. Yesterday, the Attorney General himself, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, was not in court. The Deputy, Alfred Tuah-Yeboah, was there together with Isaac Wilberforce Mensah, and they shared some thoughts on that. Let's connect with Bobby Banson. He's a lawyer. Bobby, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry about the Zoom connection, but I hope you can hear me now.
I can hear you loud and clear. Zoom no mfane ho. Yebekasa. Ewa ho microphone so. So let's get into it. First off, your appreciation of happenings in court yesterday and then the accusations leveled by the minority. But let's start with what was discussed in court yesterday in respect of the tape, its admissibility or otherwise. We know tomorrow the judge will rule on that. What's your thinking on it?
Well, I think that it's an interesting legal development considering, one, the stage that they are seeking to admit this document. Every lawyer will tell you that the test for admissibility is relevant. Beyond the relevance, you have to weigh the exceptions provided under evidence law, that every evidence before it to be admitted must be relevant. But it doesn't end there. Even relevant evidence may be excluded by the court if the court is of the opinion that the weight of the relevance is overweighed by other considerations, such as unfair prejudice, unnecessary delay, to scandalize the parties, and then the law list provides them. So I believe that is what would weigh on the mind of the judge. There's also the other aspect of the general provision or position that if you record somebody without the person's consent,
right,
that evidence may not be admitted on the basis that it's a breach of the person's constitutional right to privacy. However,
exactly,
we will see that over time, there have been exceptions in the Ghanaian jurisprudence concerning the admissibility of that evidence when that evidence would lead to a criminal charge or is in pursuant of a criminal allegation against the party. So the judge would situate the exceptions in the context of the general provision of the Evidence Act, and they determine whether it is relevant, if they're relevant to the charges that have been leveled against the accused person.
Right.
If it is relevant, whether the relevance would be overweighed by the other considerations of constitutionality or unfair prejudice, or whether it will lead to undue delay considering the stage that they are seeking to admit this evidence.
Right.
So I believe that should be weighed by these things.
All right. So, I mean, in her shoes, these are some of the things based on the face of the law. These are some of the considerations you would be adopting. And like you rightly said, in the past, our jurisprudence has pointed to the fact that the admissibility probably would be in question. But some of the latest rulings on some of these matters have also admitted some of them on the back of maybe the consequence of what not admitting them would bring to bear. But do you think it makes any difference in terms of the admissibility? Do you think it makes any difference? It adds any weight? The caliber of people involved, the AG on the one end and the minority leader on the other end. Could that affect the decision of the judge in this matter in any way? Because of, like you said, consequence is of consequence. Could it affect anything?
You know, this judge, Justice Ifya, has demonstrated that she is no respecter of persons.
That's what we hear. I mean, she's no nonsense.
Yes, I mean, like I've said, those who saw her when she was in practice, and I had the privilege of experiencing some of her work in practice in Kumasi when I started work, the same attitude she has carried to the bench. And so irrespective of who is involved, she is going to dispense justice according to her appreciation without any fear or influence or any consideration of the personalities involved. So I have no doubt that she is going to deliver a ruling according to her appreciation of the law, and then whoever or however it goes, she will stand by it and will be able to justify it.
Now, we know that the audio recording was admitted. It formed the basis of the trial judge's 6th June 2024 ruling on a mistrial, among others. Of course, she didn't grant that position for a mistrial. But you listen to your colleague, Aziz Bamba, lead counsel for Dr. Kassia Lato-Forson, and he says that the telephone conversation hinged largely on the agreement between the government of Ghana and the letter of credit that was subsequently issued, making the recording an important piece in the ongoing trial. He also argues that the AG's posturing in the audio recording constitutes willful, and I'm focusing on the words intentionally, willful oppression of an accused, and that it is not the Attorney General's place to be giving theories to an accused person in an ongoing trial. Then he tops up with his own objection, saying the audio is relevant because it shows that the case hasn't been mounted in good faith. If you listen to the language of Aziz Bamba, what do you make of it and his objection?
I mean, he's a very respected lawyer who has so many years of experience. I believe that he would have legal basis to present the argument the way he has presented. I believe that the Attorney General has also fought back with his opposition. Let's leave it for the judge to make a determination of it. I always say that no matter how sliced you cut a bread, there will be two sides of it. And so the beauty of the law is whatever position you take, if you are diligent enough, you'll be able to provide legal basis for it, unless, of course, it's completely unsupported. And so I believe that Dr. Bamba had supported his position with legal authorities, and the AG has opposed also with legal authorities. That is why there's the judge. Let's see how the judge will take it from there.
Hold for me, Bobby Banton, and of course, talking about the no-nonsense constitution of this lawyer, I mean, for the first time, asking an AG to recuse himself, advising him. I mean, that in itself pointed to something never before heard. But let me bring in Sami Obeng. He is with the Parliamentary Network Africa. Sami, good morning.
Good morning.
It's really good to have you. Where have you been hiding? We've not spoken in a while.
Yes, we haven't. Always a pleasure to be on your platform.
It's good to have you. I also want to address this conversation from the standpoint of the minority saying, listen, if you're not going to grant leave to our leader to do official business, then we are also going to move away from Parliament. Whenever he comes back, we'll be in Parliament. But as long as he's in court, we'll not be there. What is your reflection on this positioning of the minority?
Well, reflecting on it, it appears to me that this is a strategy the minority had experimented about a year ago in the Jachikwesi case. And they appear to see or note that it got them some results so far as, being in the limelight is concerned. And because of that, they feel there is no need changing the winning strategy. And that is why now that it involves the leader of the caucus, they are even looking forward to escalating it. But remember that when this happened in the Jachikwesi case, there were a couple of issues that came up with it. The first was that on a few occasions, it seriously disrupted the business in Parliament, to the extent that it got the Speaker of Parliament complaining and lamenting, and actually warning that if members of the minority caucus would not resort to the lay-down procedures in Parliament, which is to officially request permission to be absent, then he is going to start applying the rules in Parliament as relates to being consistently absent in the House. Now, Parliament itself, has it learned the lessons from that particular period and has it putting in place measures to mitigate it this time around? I'm not too sure about that because of how the last situation ended. Has the minority learned lessons from the last situation and put in place measures? Yes, I think that they are of the opinion that this worked for them to perfection in the last time they applied it, and so are willing to apply it again. Have we, as Ghanaians, learned lessons from this and, shown our political leaders that we expect more from them than some of these things that they do? I do not think so. Because, you see, we are over 30 million. All of us cannot be in the hallowed chamber of Parliament. It is the very reason why we elect representatives. So if you do an average, we are looking at each person, a member of Parliament, representing about 100,000 Ghanaians. Anytime he or she is not in Parliament, those 100,000 Ghanaians who he or she is representing do not get representation. And so it is, for me, a bit of a problem if members of Parliament prioritize some of these things against the representative function that they are supposed to play in Parliament. And it behoves on us as members of the public to call our MPs out when they do these things and to let them know that their foremost responsibility and allegiance is towards ensuring that those of us who have given them our mandate in this agent-principal relationship would be respected.
Now tell me, how could this possibly affect the work of Parliament? We know that government business has suffered. I mean, when the Ejisu by-election was yet to be held, different deliberations. Is this going to affect government business, this posturing of the minority?
Give or take, the 8th Parliament of Ghana has less than 12 weeks to end its tenure. 12 weeks of sittings to end its tenure. In this current meeting, they are sitting from now until about the end of July, which is about 6 weeks. They go on a recess, come back and do about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, maximum 6 weeks again, and then they break for elections completely, right? What it means is that all the bills that are in Parliament, affirmative action bill, the bills relating to tree crop development, the bills relating to, there are many, many other bills that relate to the interest of the Ghanaian people, so many of them, which will take a lot of time to be able to go through and pass. are still hanging. We know that there are other government businesses that need to be executed. Any time that the minority out of parliament, the experience of last shows that it affected the extent to which president is able to sit. Yesterday, one will argue that this boycott did not really affect the proceedings.
Sam, please reposition yourself just a little for me. The line is breaking a bit.
Is it better now?
Better. Please go ahead.
Great. Yesterday, one can argue that it did not necessarily affect the proceedings in Parliament because at the time that the sittings began, they had already come back to chamber and they joined in the proceedings. But this is not going to be the same situation. And you know, this becomes even more serious when your reporters in court observe that they did not find 137 minority MPs in court. What it means is that the minority could still make that same statement by getting a delegation that represents them in court and also ensuring that the work of the people of Ghana that needs to be done gets done. So that is it when it comes to the government business. But remember that Parliament is not only about government business. There is also what we call private business in Parliament, and this has to do with specific issues that affect specific constituencies represented by specific individuals. So, for example, there is question time when an MP asks a Minister of State a question relating to development situations in their constituency. So let's say I live in the Adenta constituency. The MP here asks about the construction on that road, which has been problematic all this while, the Adenta-Dodowa road. Yet on the day that the minister comes to answer the question, the MP is not in Parliament. What happens in parliamentary procedure is that the minister will not answer that question. He would consider the written answer that he brought, a short written answer, as satisfactory, of addressing the matter. And it will be those of us within that particular constituency who would suffer. And we saw that many of such instances happened during the Jachikwesin boycott situation. We cannot have our interests as constituents sacrificed on the altar of, people seeking the interest of their political party, despite the fact that they have every right to solidarize with their leader, but they must know that their right ends also at the point where we have the right for them to represent us as our elected representatives.
Sammy, I know you're pressed for time. I just want you to do me this courtesy this morning. I want Peter Nochukoto, who's in the studio and speaking for the minority, to just reflect on the justification for this action of theirs so that if you have any final reaction, you can give it before you go. Is that okay?
It's tough, but let's go.
All right. Peter Nochukoto, I want you to be brief because he has to go. What justifies the stance of the minority to say you're going to boycott Parliament because of this?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers. Yeah, the issue is that in Parliament we have leadership, and our leader is Dr. Atufossi. If you are preventing him from doing his constitutional duties, then if the leader is not there, what as members do we go there to do? Why is he being persecuted in court?
But when the leader is not there, there are deputies who can stand in for him.
Yeah, but he has some constitutional duty to perform. And we are saying that allow him time to do his work. Then
but let me ask you just quickly. So if the leader were indisposed, assuming he was sick, right? He couldn't make it to Parliament. Would your deputies not step in?
Yeah, they can, but this is a different issue altogether. By just consensus, the judge can allow him to do his constitutional duty, then later on he goes to court. So if you want to prevent him from doing his duty to the nation, then as members of Parliament, we feel that our leadership or our leader is being persecuted, and we must make sure that we give him that moral support. We are not saying we won't come to Parliament. Anytime he's attending to court, we will follow him to court. When the court
yes, but the instance has been shown that it's not all 137 of you who are in court.
It doesn't matter. Like yesterday, some were in court, some of us were in the house, not the chamber, when we were having the press conference. So that was what we did. And don't be surprised.
But reflecting on what Samuel Bing says, that listen, every MP is representing about 100,000 plus people. If you just do the divisions, though it's technically not the same. Yeah. Each time a member of parliament from a constituency is not there, it has an impact. Why would you want to do this, and how it will affect government
we
business?
want Ghanaians to know that what is being done to our leader is just a calculated attempt to cow him and then jail him for what he has not done. Do you see it? So we will continue to support him. Anytime he's going to court, we will follow him. Even if it is only 5 members who are there, they represent us. And what we are telling Parliament or Speaker is that, well, when it is even 3 o'clock and the court session is over, we will come back. Like yesterday, Parliament, for the first day of a sitting, we went to court. When he came back, Parliament sat, we closed around 6 p.m. yesterday. So we'll still be doing business. The reason for which they have elected us, we will be there.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that we follow our leader to court.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me also bring in Sami Obeng, who is with the Parliamentary Network Africa. Sami, any quick reactions, reflections on what Peter Nochukoto has said, and then you can go.
Yes. So first of all, there is good reason why this whole perennial, repeated situation of Parliament-judicial relations and the issue of MP standing trials, arrest of members of Parliament and all of that needs to be dealt with exclusively. And we need to have a proper conversation about this and find a way around it. But yes, when members of Parliament need to perform their responsibility and to our neighbors that was caught, the same principle I raised about the number of issues they represent who would not represent that.
Sami, just move a bit. Just move a bit. We're losing you again. Just move a bit.
Yes. So I was saying that the same principle of the number of Ghanaians who gets represented, who must be represented, who do not get represented because their member of Parliament is not around, also applies if a member of Parliament is facing trial, during periods when Parliament is sitting. So that particular conversation we need to have. However, the fact that one member of Parliament is facing that situation does not mean that all of us, all else, should not be represented because of that. And members of Parliament in the minority caucus or wherever who make this explanation about, leader not being around and so they cannot be around must know that we as Ghanaians, to a greater extent, understand the proceedings in Parliament, knows how to go. And so some of these reasons that get given really are really, and to the extent that Parliament feels when the man who's supposed to preside is not around, means that for Parliament then is that it can go on without a single.
Okay. Sami Obeng, we're so grateful. Thank you so much for, I know I've eaten into your time for other matters, but thank you so much for indulging me. Sami Obeng is with the Parliamentary Network Africa. Bobby Banton, before I come back into the studio, Bobby, I'd like to find out, so I don't know whether you have a take on, that is not a legal matter, the minority's decision to step aside every time the leader is in court. But the substantive question to you is this going to be another test for the law, another test for Ghanaian jurisprudence? And are you hoping, from the academic standpoint, that this is going to give further clarity to how to deal with some of these issues in terms of the admissibility of evidence, such recordings? What's your take?
Yes, I expect the judge to give a very well-reasoned opinion or decision that will serve as a guide to subsequent issues of this nature when they come up. Because I suspect that, like she has done in all her rulings, particularly the recent one, she gives the historical antecedents of how the law developed in respect of that subject area. So I'm sure she'll fall down to the Kuba cases and then come down to the settings and then give her conclusion on this. And it should be good learning for everybody who is interested in this area of the law.
All right. And in respect of, like I asked earlier, in respect of the minority's positioning, what's your take?
Them boycotting the court. It's not, I don't think it's in the interest of the state for political parties to use such avenues to boycott parliamentary proceedings. Because if you do that, like Mr. Obeng said, it is the citizens who voted for you that will lose. One, I don't see the impact of the boycott on the proceedings. The judge will not be influenced by the solidarity that you have allegedly offered. It will not have any impact on the evidence that has been abused or the law as it stands which will be applied. So the question for me is, what then is the end game? Are you trying to seek attention for an already politicized or publicized matter? Or are you using an avenue just to not show up in Parliament? And it's because of the over-politicization, because then it is becoming NPP versus NDC in court, when it's actually not. So whichever side decides to put this, and I've always wondered what the end game is. It is not as if you are protesting something that has happened in Parliament, for you to say maybe the speaker was unfair or something for which you say you are boycotting proceedings. This is something that is happening outside Parliament to one member who has legal representation, who are, fashioning out his defense. And so, you boycotting parliamentary proceedings in solidarity, I think it may backfire, because if what you want is to seek sympathy from the judge, so that the judge would manage the case or the hearing to suit the parliamentary timing, I don't know if boycotting parliament would have that impact on this particular time.
Just a quick top up, and you can go, I beg of you. So this bit about the lawyer for Castellato Forson saying that the trial judge, it skipped my mind, has been unfair by not granting him leave to perform his official duties. What do you make of it? I don't know whether you firmly reflected on that. I just want a quick thought on that.
The unfair, I think, is a strong word. It's exercise of her discretion. And unless
by saying that, you also mean someone else could have exercised the discretion the other way.
Yeah, but that is why it is called discretion. You cannot force, there's no judicial prisoner when it comes to exercise of discretion, unless there are certain principles of law that would govern the exercise of that particular discretion, in line with maybe Article 296 or 23 of the Constitution. But if she thinks that this case has dragged on, she thinks that it will be in the interest of justice, all the parties involved. Because remember, it is not only Mr. Atuforsi who is facing trial. There are other accused persons as well.
Yes, but some of the tapes also reveal some, and there have been allegations of the fact that, those people were only added because they were going to be collateral damage. All of that is also in there, so it makes.
No, I'm not speaking about the admissibility of the tape. I thought we're discussing her decision not to adjourn the trial to suit parliamentary timing.
Yes, I get that. That is it.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. That I will not. It's her discretion. There are some judges that may do that, but if she thinks that she wants to finish this within a certain time, as it were, or there are other interest holders whose interest at this point in time may override that of a single accused person, you can't say that he has not considered relevant principles that govern the exercise of discretion in that matter. So if they appeal to her and she thinks that she wants to do that, nothing will stop her. But if she decides not to do that as well, I don't think that you can say that any miscarriage of justice will occasion Mr. Atuforsi, that because of that he's not able to present his defense, as it were.
Bobby, thank you so much for being a part of our morning on the AM show. That is Bobby Banton, a lawyer. He joined the conversation. Before we move on to the next conversation, any final words, Peter Nochukoto, on this one?
Just want to add that our decision to stay away from proceedings whenever our leader goes to court is not to stampede parliamentary business, but for the public to know that what is happening is a calculated attempt against our leader. And for that matter, we'll be in solidarity with him.
All right. So On the next leg of the conversation we're having, we also know, and that is part of why we brought the ranking member on the Education Committee into our studios. The Minister for Education is set to go before Parliament this week and present a bill that will bind successive governments to continue with the free SHS policy. But we ask, is the free SHS policy in its current state sustainable? Is the bill necessary in light of Ghana's 1992 constitutional mandates for a progressively free education? We're going to be interrogating those issues, but let's first take you to the floor of Parliament, where the Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, spoke to some of the crucial issues.
The Minister of Education will present the free SHS bill to Parliament. You know, the Chapter 5 of the Constitution provides some aspirational indicatives. Those are not justiciable. But once, by policy of government, an aspiration, as envisaged by the Constitution, is put into action, then to make it justiciable, you enact. In other words, there are provisions in the Constitution that you cannot enforce. You cannot claim rights to those provisions. The fact that they are there does not mean that you can apply to the court to enforce those rights. They are merely, should I enforce certain rights and give rights and take certain actions. So I think that this free SHS bill, if we consider as a house, what that means is that it becomes mandatory for government to implement this. Unless it is repealed, no government would have the right to say, I am not going to enforce free SHS, because now there's a law. So if you fail, a citizen can apply to the court as his bona fide, and the court would exact justice in that citizen's favor. So that is the good news about this bill.
So here we go talking about education. I'm joined in the studio by Sweetie Abochi, who is also here together with Peter Nochu Koto joining the conversation. But we also have joining the conversation George Toku-Odro. He is Professor of Educational Leadership at the University of Cape Coast. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
It's good having you join the conversation this morning. I will ask for your initial thoughts on this matter. I mean, I have heard the likes of Angel Kabonu saying free SHS legislation, make it more effective. No one has challenged the legality. But from the constitutional standpoint, is this even a conversation we should be having?
Thank you very much. Yeah, and greetings to listeners, viewers. Yeah, it is difficult for me to make a definite pronouncement on this intended bill because the details are not known yet. However, I wonder which of the free SHS the intended bill seeks to sustain. Is it the constitutionally mandated progressive free SHS, which the NDC properly planned and commenced implementing prior to its exit in 2016, or the vote buying triggered and poorly implemented post-free SHS, which has crippled foundational education in the country? We need to know. If the trigger of the intended bill is to counter the call for review by civil society and other forward-looking stakeholders in the country, then I think the NPP isn't being honest with Ghanaians, and therefore the intended bill has no basis. Why do I say this? When we look at the IMF report in January 2024, report number 24/30.47, the NPP, as part of its strategies, indicated that in the educational sector, we will review and rationalize the free SHS program. So if this is what the promise that the NPP itself, the Minister of Education, and the Vice President have assured the IMF of, then going forward to next year, why should they rush to come out with a bill with the explanation that they want the implementation of the free SHS to be sustained? For me, I think that it is a political gimmick aimed at vote buying, because the impression has already been created. They've tried to create the impression that the NDC's intended review of the implementation of the free SHS implies cancellation, which people have not bought into, because even the JHS child knows that review does not mean cancellation. And so the intended bill, in my opinion, is to create an impression, because obviously the minority in parliament obviously will kick against the bill. So the signal will go out to people that, yes, you see, if NDC comes, they will cancel the free SHS. That is why they don't want to accept that. So my concern, what I would say is that if the NPP's intended bill is really in the interest of the nation, then the Minister of Education would have heeded to the persistent call on the NPP for a national dialogue on the free SHS, which has come from civil society and the former president, so that we look at the implementation, identify the gaps, find ways of addressing the gaps, so that we move forward. Then, based on that, we can think about a bill to sustain its implementation.
Okay.
If that is not done, my brother, I can assure you, even if they force to push this bill to be passed in Parliament, its sustenance will not be assured. Because the next government, who thinks more about the nation and thinks about quality implementation of the free SHS as provided in the Constitution, will surely cause a repeal of the law. Let me also mention that we have precedents in this country where acts establishing institutions, provisions made in the institutions, I'm talking about a tertiary level, where the act clearly indicates how a vice chancellor should be appointed. Statutes clearly indicates that. And yet the NPP, majority leader, was active in that. They put aside this and then removed a vice chancellor at the University of Education, Winneba, and appointed a new vice chancellor without recourse to the act. So there is no assurance that if this bill is pushed through Parliament and it passes, next government will be compelled to go by it. What we need is a national dialogue. So we'll all be on the same plane to ensure that free SHS becomes meaningful to the poor, particularly the poor in the society. So my brother, this is my opinion about it.
I have follow-up questions, but before I do, Sweetie Abochi, my colleague, is in the studio. She has some questions for you as well.
Okay. I was just thinking, you talk about, the Constitution and what it's the directive about progressively free. Would you agree that this bill, the proposed bill, can be rather interpreted as an enhancement of this constitutional directive. I mean, we're moving from progressively realizing this dream to actually solidifying it to ensure that everyone has access to education. Mind you that one thing that this policy has done is given lots of lot of children access to education. So wouldn't it rather be an enhancement of this constitutional directive from progressively free to actually solidifying this policy into a law? What do you think about that?
Yeah, thank you very much.
The politics aside, I mean.
Yeah, enhancement. No, actually, I'm not talking politics. I'm talking academic analysis here. Yeah. Yeah, enhancement, yes. But let's not forget that progressively free as provided by the Constitution is not skewed to access. It is skewed to quality and equity index access. It is also framed within the context of scarce resources, bearing in mind the various levels of our educational sector, where the basic education becomes the prioritized need, because without strengthening the foundation, the basic, whatever you put up becomes problematic. So in enhancing, coming out with any intended bill aimed at enhancing the constitutional provision within the context of wholesale, we must ask ourselves, has the nation reached the point where the nation can provide free SHS for everybody, including those who can pay for their children, to the extent that PTA, Parent-Teacher Association support has to be crippled, to the extent that parents will be told not to pay anything, and yet behind the scenes so much cost is being placed on parents, to the extent that other sectors of the economy have to be suppressed, to the extent that endowment funds, like the GET funds, should be cut and collateralized. My sister, we need enhancement must be done within the context of critical analysis, within the context of our resources. That is what we need. So the intention may be good, but they should come out clearly to tell us what is going into that. Until that is done, I still hold on to my position that it will be a political gimmick aimed at winning votes.
Prof, so two blunt questions, very briefly. One, are you saying then that before this bill would have been brought to any consideration, there should have been a review, one, of free SHS? That's the first bit. That even before considering this, there should have been a proper review of free SHS involving all other sides, including, for example, people who feel there is the need for a review. Like you cited, even in the IMF document, we had said that we would review and rationalize free SHS. Is that what you're saying?
Surely, that's what we are saying. Because the free SHS is for the nation. It is for stakeholders. It is for the taxpayer. We have implemented this program since 2017. We are all aware of the challenges associated with this. Yes, we think that it is a good program, but its implementation is an issue. Before you come out with any bill aimed at enhancing or sustaining that, there should be engagement. All political parties with different opinions, everybody must come together to look at it. Set things right. Then now can come out to say that we need a bill in Parliament to be passed to enhance its implementation, to ensure that any government that comes in will work towards that. If that is not done, then you are only, I don't know, I don't want to use the word joking. Yeah, but I think that we've gotten to a stage as a nation where we do not have to toil with our educational system.
Are you then saying that at this point, this bill will not be a technical bill, it will be a political bill?
Oh, sure. It is obvious.
Okay.
Obvious.
Right. The second bit to you, just briefly on that. So, free SHS in its current frame or form, should it be continued and be made binding on future governments? What do you think?
In its current form, as a professor in educational leadership, I wouldn't support any move that seeks to sustain and consolidate mediocrity in terms of quality, in terms of equity. So within this context, I would not subscribe to anything of that. If it were just a question of access, then that's one fine, that is good. But once quality and equity are concerned, I don't think it will be in the interest of the nation. It won't be in the interest of the poor people in this country who also need quality education.
All right, please hold for us. Let's come back into the studio and engage our Member of Parliament on this same issue. Now, like he was saying, there's some political powers at play here, and educational policies, especially those affecting large populations like this particular free SHS, is subject to manipulation. Often, each party wants to get something out of it, right? We've heard former President John Dramani Mahama say that he wants to review it, and there's the fear that he might want to completely take it out of operation. So my question to you is, will this bill not rather remove the politicking aspect of it and rather just focus on ensuring that senior high school education is accessible to all, regardless of their background?
Yeah, thank you very much. My first answer to your question is emphatic no.
Okay.
Now, there are constitutional provisions. If you go to Article 25, 1B, and I quote, secondary education in its different forms, including technical and vocational education, shall be made generally available and accessible to all by every appropriate means, and in particular, by the progressive introduction of free education. And that was what started in 2015 under the regime of President Mahama. 2015, 2016, we started the free SHS on progressively free approach. That is the first thing. Now, if you come to the implementation of the program, we asked even the government at the time of the introduction or implementation that we want to see a policy document on the free SHS program or policy. As we sit here, government or the Ministry of Education has never been able to provide the Committee on Education a copy of the policy. So whether it existed or not, I don't know.
Have you requested for
We
it?
requested several times.
What response did you get?
We'll get it for you. We'll get it for you. That is all.
Wait,
I don't know whether it is the policy
just stay with us here. You're saying there is no policy framework on free SHS?
As far as I'm concerned, I've not seen a copy.
You are ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament. You don't know of any such policy?
I have not seen a copy of it. We have insisted as a committee, we want a copy. Neither the last former minister or the current one provided us with a copy. Now, they want to legislate the free SHS, but I can tell you that there is already a provision for it in the law existing in this country, apart from the Constitution. Act 1049, Pre-Tertiary Education Act 2020. I was part of the committee that worked on it. And if you look at Section 3, let me quote, free secondary education. Secondary education is different forms, including technical and vocational education, shall be free and accessible to all eligible candidates. So what again do you want to pass as a law? Because it is here already. So are they coming to amend Act 1049? I don't know for them.
I want to go back to the earlier quote you did about the progressively free from 2015, 2016. If we are talking progressively free, it means that at some point in time, it will be free. So how much longer do we have to wait and review policies until we get to the point that it's actually free?
The Constitution has not given any time frame, unlike the free basic education. Now, if you look at it, when they talk of a progressively free, it's talking about the quality that we should give. You see, if you look at the quality of secondary education in this country now, it's very poor. Look at the challenges that are bedeviling the free senior high school program. And I can go through a number of them for you. And you'll be surprised that, no, we need to look at this free SHS positively and then critique it and see where we have not done well, and then we can go ahead.
Just a quick one. What is your interpretation of progressively free?
Progressively free, that means you must take your time and make sure that you provide the necessary facilities that are needed. Number one is infrastructure.
Take your time is relative, you know that.
Yeah, it's relative. But you must take your time. What are the things that you need to provide quality education at the free senior high school? So if you remember, in 2015, President Mahama embarked on a large-scale infrastructure in our secondary schools. And that was the first approach. And if he had continued in office, I think these challenges we are facing in the senior high schools now, when you go and then you park students in the dormitories, in the classrooms, then you have to introduce a double-track system where the students now go on as if it's a traffic light. Some will, as we speak now, some of second-year students are at home. They will go back to school in June. They will stay on holidays for every 2 months. It is not the best.
Okay.
Right.
So Professor Stephen Kweku joins us. He's the former director of GIMPA. Professor, it's good to have you join us. This proposed bill to turn this free SHS policy into a law, how does it all sit with you? I'm sure you've been following the conversation to this point. Give me a sense of your thoughts.
Well, the question is that, first of all, the free SHS has appeared not only in the Constitution and also in some of the...
Prof, your voice is a bit down. Please, if you could speak up for...
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. I said that in addition to the constitutional provision, by virtue of the legislation which the Honorable Member of Parliament referred to, every year there is some policy coming through the budget because there are budgetary allocations for free SHS. So there is some policy, but that has not been articulated. And I think that pulling it all together so that we know all the facets of SHS, what is included and what is not included in the free SHS, will be a good idea. And so I think that it's something which is coming, I think, a bit late, but it's worth doing so that there will be an articulation of really the dimensions of the free SHS, whether it is fee or boarding and everything else. And also, it will give Parliament an opportunity to really discuss if the NDC has any better way of doing it. That is the time they can ask for amendment. I think that it is good if the government at last has come to the point of bringing a legislation. It will give both sides the opportunity to debate the free SHS, the strengths and weaknesses, and codify it.
Professor Day, I have a question for you, but let me quickly welcome aboard Dr. Peter Anti. He's the Executive Director of IFEST. Dr. Anti, a very good morning to you. Hello, Dr. Anti. All right, I'll go back to Dr. Anti shortly.
Hello, good morning.
Dr. Anti, good morning. Hope you're well.
Hello, good morning.
All right, Doc, just hold a second. I'll come to you shortly. Professor Day, so you talk about articulation, if you like, of the idea, but what exactly will be articulated? Free SHS has been bedeviled with so many problems. Good, but implementation, problems. The government itself, in its agreement with the IMF, has spoken about reviewing and rationalizing the policy. That has not been done. So what exactly is going to be discussed? Peter Nochukoto in the studio, together with Professor Toku Odro, say that it is wrong ab initio. You've not dealt with the issues. You're going to Parliament to do what exactly? What's your take?
Well, I don't think that, for example, there hasn't been a clear definition to me. What is the government going to offer? And what, even under free SHS, parents should do? And I think that there has been some discussion in the air about these things, and I hope that the policy and the law would make this clear. Because if we don't, then we will be plodding along with all the arguments and discussions which have bedeviled the SHS to now.
Hold for me, Prof.
Dr. Peter Anti is still on the line with us. Doc, are we misprioritizing these issues? Are we supposed to be focusing on reviewing the policy, ensuring that the challenges we've seen, I mean, even despite the challenges, there was the introduction of this one student, one tablet, and we talked a lot about how there are challenges, there are still schools under trees. Should we be focusing on fixing these issues rather than implementing a law or solidifying this progressively free senior high school thing that we're trying to do? What's your take?
Dr. Anti, are you with us? Okay, it appears we have some challenges with the connection as far as Dr. Peter Anti is concerned. We'll try to look at some of the other surrounding matters. And so for you, Professor Ade, before we get back to Dr. Anti, you feel that, okay, I hear we have Dr. Anti back.
Dr. Anti, I was asking, should we be focusing on fixing the challenges we have in education system, particularly with senior high school education, rather than, you know, moving this policy into a law? I don't think we have Dr. Pitanti or the network challenges, but when we...
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, great, great. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Did you hear the question? Is this a case of...
I had challenges, but I...
Right, I'll repeat it. Is this a case of misplaced priorities? Should we be focusing on fixing the challenges we have in the education system, particularly with the senior high school, rather than moving this policy into a law?
All right, thank you very much and good morning. I'm having a terrible network this morning. Yes, I think that, I don't know if this point I've already made on your platform, that we have made free SHS a law in this country, and that is explicit in the Pre-Tertiary Education Act 2020. So I'm looking at a situation whereby we are likely to have the operationalization of the policy being enacted into law. And that is where I'm a little bit skeptical, but we'll wait and read the content of the so-called bill, and then we'll be able to make inputs. There are a lot of challenges in the education sector, especially at the secondary school level, and we're thinking that if there are any plans to deal with them, the focus should be on trying to solve these problems and make sure that the benefits of accessing secondary education in Ghana is realized. But as I said, it's a little bit interesting to hear that there's going to be a bill on free SHS. I see it to be more of the operationalization of the law that has already been enacted. And I'm thinking of how this whole thing is going to be like. So we would wait and see the content of that particular bill and we'll give the necessary remarks when the time is due. But the focus should be trying to deal with the challenges that we are facing now for the remaining months of this current administration.
Peter, I have an interesting point for you. George Toko-Odro, he's Professor of Educational Leadership at the University of Cape Coast. He has asked whether we're going to have the bill talking about the SHS of the NDC period, or at least that which is referenced in the Constitution, or this current SHS, which has been bedeviled with its own problems. Mind you, it's confusing because if we are to go by what Peter Nochukoto, ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament, says, there is no policy framework even for free SHS. At least not what he has seen. No policy framework. So what exactly will we be implementing? Dr. Anti, that was meant for you, if you can hear me. It's a bit challenging this morning, but maybe I'll throw that question to Professor Ade, if you heard the question, before we come back to Dr. Anti and then in the studio.
Yes, I heard it. First of all, politicians are always hyperbolic in their view. I think that to say that there's no policy covering free SHS is just being economical with the truth. He has been sitting in Parliament and has been passing budgetary allocation to free SHS on what basis? No, what he's saying is that they haven't brought probably a comprehensive law that covers it, and that is exactly what I expect this supposed law, which we can't discuss it because I don't know the content, should do. And it should be welcomed by everybody because for the first time, there will be an opportunity once they bring anything to Parliament, not only for the parliamentarians, but the Education Subcommittee to solicit views of experts and interested parties. And therefore, as much as I have no clue to what is being presented, for me, it will be an opportunity for Ghanaians to have a platform to discuss the way forward for the free SHS. And I think we shouldn't be discussing whether they should fix the problems now rather than a law. No, it gives a platform for all of us to be able to see what the government has on the table and to be able to criticize it or give recommendations and for Parliament to treat it to make it better. And should be the desire. I thought that both sides of Parliament should welcome whatever is coming. Whether it's good or bad, you have opportunity to see what is happening in Dodowa Forest.
Interesting submissions. Prof, hold for me. Let's just take a reaction from Peter Nochukoto on that. You've heard Professor Ade on that point. What do you make of it, his reaction?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to say that I've been on the Committee on Education for the past 7 years under this government. And consistently, we have been asking for a copy of the policy. And I know on record that anytime we met at a budget session and we're discussing allocations for various sectors, we requested for this and we have never been given a copy.
So based on what did you approve the allocation?
Well, it's
it's justifiable. If there's no policy, you don't know what you were signing off on. No, why were you approving budgets?
No, we have an education ministry. They come with their budget. This is how much we want to spend on basic education. This is how much we want to spend on secondary education. This is how much we want to spend on tertiary education. Do you see it? So we have all that. And when it comes to senior high school, we demand for policy documents. And they have never given us. So what we do is, okay, this is how much we want to use for the free senior high school policy. Okay, it's granted. And if you will remember, we have been asking the minister even some time ago over how much they have spent in respect of this free senior high school program. And they give us conflicting figures. The Minister for Education will give a figure. The Minister for Finance will give a different figure. And then government itself will also give a different figure. So at times we become worried and confused as to what actually is happening within the operation or the implementation of the free senior high school program. So it is not that we don't want the policy or the bill to be brought to Parliament, but we want to make the people of Ghana know that we have made demands on this government for a number of issues concerning the policy, and they have not told us. Even with the school calendar, free senior high school, when they introduced the double track system. We requested for a timetable within which they will do away with the double track because we saw it as a greatest challenge because it was going to distort the school calendar altogether. And they promised us, oh, by 2018 or 2019, it will be over. We are now in 2024, and we still have the double track system.
Right.
Wow, we have the president of Ghana National Association of Teachers, Mr. Isaac Owusu, joining us. Mr. Isaac Owusu, thanks for joining the conversation. Now, Dr. Peter Anti is saying that we should be focusing on fixing the challenges that we already have. The ranking member on Education Committee in Parliament is in the studio with us, is saying that they haven't even seen a policy document or a comprehensive policy framework. What do you say on this proposed bill to turn the free SHS policy into a law?
Well, let me say a very good morning to your good self and the panel members in your studio, and also to your cherished viewers this morning. And I must say that, yes, I think it is better late than ever, because since 2017 that the MPP government started the implementation of the free SHS policy, we were expecting this discussion to have started as far back as 2017, 2018. But we do not know the reason why this is the time that they realize that we need to enact a law that will help us implement the Article 25 in our Constitution. Yes, it is good because we have precedents in Ghana where a political party comes to government and decides to take the free secondary school to 4 years. Another party comes and says, no, we will not do the 4 years, we will revert it back to 3 years. Because there were no laws or an enactment binding successive governments, people try to play politics with our educational system. So for me, I think that, yes, it is very important for us to have an enactment that would direct the successive government as to how we should go about this free secondary school policy. Yes, this does not stop us from having a national dialogue on how to have a very quality education, a holistic quality education in the country. So for me, I think that as parliamentarians, they need to look at the policy and the bill that is yet to come to them, for them to look at it critically to help us as a nation. Because we are tired as policy implementers. Here I'm referring to teachers. That any time successive government come, because the promises were made on partisan politics basis through their manifesto, they decide to do things anyhow. But if there are enactments and laws that binds us, then we can all collectively make sure that whichever government that comes to power will do the right thing. Because you remember, even in this Article 25, I quite remember, I think it's PPP or CPP, Kabila's party or so, they went to court. And the Supreme Court threw their case away because some of the articles in the constitutions are not justiciable, as there can be reference cases at the Supreme Court. So for me and the teachers, we feel that we should have a law that will direct policy holders, that will help all stakeholders to know the clear direction that we are going as a nation.
Okay, so Mr. Owusu, quick one. Benjamin here. In essence, two quick questions. That means, one, you agree that there is no policy document, no proper policy framework for free SHS?
Exactly. Because all the other policies that we refer to, the Free Tertiary Act made mention of some aspect of the free secondary school, but we do not have a holistic enactment that is talking solely on how the pros and cons of the policy. So it is very important for us to have such laws so that we can all together make sure that if any party comes to power and there is need for us to do certain amendment, then they said that government can fall on whatever is there to make the necessary amendment.
Okay, now let's talk about this. How relevant is it? We are in the dying embers of this administration. Even if the MPP continues with, let's say, their flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia, who knows how he may want to implement free SHS. But how relevant will this bill be now in terms of the dying embers where we are and foisting this on the people of Ghana and subsequent governments? That is one. And taking stock of the fact that already we have committed with the IMF to reviewing and rationalizing free SHS. We've not done that. Yet we are jumping the gun and saying we're going ahead with a bill. Does that add up for you?
This is where the members of parliament need to help us as citizens. I said initially that I am surprised that this is the time that the MPP government wants to introduce this bill. Because you started the policy as far back as 2017. And from 2017 to date, the MPP party has been in power. And we do not know. That is why I am saying that we will need the work of the members of parliament to scrutinize the bill. Because they are the only people that can help us to know the rationale behind the introduction of this bill. Ben, you and I are not in parliament. And we've not even cited the proposed bill. So we are expecting our members of parliament, both sides, to do a thorough work to let us know the rationale behind this bill. Because if you wonder it, you go to IMF and tell them that you will review. And then in another breath, now you are bringing a proposed policy, a proposed bill to parliament. So I think this is the time that we will need our parliamentarians to do us a human job, to letting us know the rationale behind this proposed bill.
Okay, let me take the conversation back to Professor Toko Oduro. Prof, let's talk about the yields of free senior high school. We know that, one, it's giving lots of school children access to education. Among the other things, this bill seeks to bind successive governments to continue giving this accessibility of education to children of the country. We can review laws as we go forward. Would it be too bad to make it a law and then continuously or progressively review it until we have a good framework or a good law that will benefit the nation as a whole?
You see, when you do not have, when you do not have any point of reference, then you can go the trial and error model. You can go that way. Now, let me say that there is no controversy over the free component of the free SHS. The controversy is about the implementation. And even before the government decided to implement, they were cautioned. Even some members of the MPP, I can make reference to the former finance minister, Okuriata. He cautioned that it should not be across board. He even went ahead to say he could pay for about 6 people. We had other people also who cautioned. So we have a reference point. We know the challenges. Why would we want to enact law and then progressively address the challenges as we implement? I don't think it is proper. Now, let me also say that governments change policies, not because the laws, there is no law. It is because the mode of coming out to such policies do not create a sense of collective ownership. Collective ownership. And that is why it is very, very important that even before you think about sending any bill to Parliament, you would have created a platform for all stakeholders, representatives, parents, students, all political parties, everybody to engage with the issue. Now, the core challenge we have is the implementation. So there's this bill, once there's no controversy with the free SHS itself, and the controversy is the implementation, is the bill going to tell us that whether you like it or not, because there's a bill that when you come, neglect a basic education and focus on free SHS. Do not limit free SHS to only the poor. Even those who can pay, give it to them. Is that what we want to, the tangent we want to go? I don't think that for the sake of planning, and if we are working in the interest of the nation and to the poor people of this country, we should rush to enact a law when we have not engaged stakeholders to address challenges. So we can get content of a bill that will be accepted by all. Unless that is done, the fear of every government coming and changing will continue. Okay, Let us not haste. Right. Let's engage stakeholders.
On the issue of
With
the
this
clash...
note, I want to seek permission. I had to write for another program.
Right. Do you have 1 minute just to get some clarification from you on the clash of an already existing law and what this, the Minister of Education seeks to do now? What is your definition of progressively free education as is already is existing in our Constitution?
Oh, okay. Thank you. The enactors of the Constitution obviously looked at resources to support initiative, the free. Taking in consideration the various financial demands that other sectors of the economy, even within the education sector, various levels of the of operation costs will have on the national coffers. And that is the context within which, in my opinion, the progressively free education was provided.
All right.
If we think we have gone to a stage where we cannot make it whole for everybody, whether the rich or the poor, which from experience, for what is happening now, is not the case, then we can come out with a bill. I would have wished that we have seen the content of the bill saying that the progressively free education will be amended to read progressively free education for the needy in the country.
Thank you for those thoughts. Professor George Tokodro, you can take leave of us now. And he's a professor of educational leadership at the University of Cape Coast, and he joined us. Let me come back to Mr. Nochituku Kotoi. Yes. Yeah. What do you want out of all these conversations that we're having right now? What do you want?
Well, for me, the decision to come to Parliament with a bill is a misplaced priority. Misplaced priority because there are a lot of challenges now facing the free senior high school program. As we sit here, government is owing WAEC over 224 million Ghana cedis for the conduct of examinations. For this year, those who are going to write the WASE in August, government has not released even 1 CD to WAEC to organize the examination. They are supposed to give WAEC 178 million Ghana cedis. They have not given 1 pesewa. 2023, they are owing over 46 million Ghana cedis to WAEC. 2022, they are owing over 9 million Ghana cedis to WAEC. And for basic education, we won't talk about that because they owe them well over 90 million. And WAEC is losing seasoned examiners because of this. Because examiners will not go and then review scripts, mark scripts, set questions, do all other things, and then you won't pay them on time. You see, so WAEC is worried that if the trend should continue this way, then they are going to have problems with the conduct of the examination. Because you said, as part of the free senior high school program, no student or candidate should pay even a peswa for the registration of the exam. The government will pay everything. We have approved this budget for you. Give it to them to conduct the examinations. You don't want to do it. Now you want to come with a bill. Is the bill going to solve this problem? Or you are going to put in the bill that henceforth any government that takes over must not owe WAEC or must not owe publishers?
Is that what you just said? That you've approved the budget, but they've not dispensed?
Yes, we approved budget since October last year, starting from January. And as I'm saying, arrears of last year was 46 million is there. Government has not paid. So WAEC is going around begging suppliers for materials on credit. So it's making the work of WAEC very, very difficult. You have not thought of solving that problem. You now owe one student one laptop. You have not paid even $1. You are owing the supplier $337 million. Instead of thinking of how to pay that money, and even today you say you are going to distribute the tablets at Okokuwari Secondary School, something you have bought on credit, you have not paid for it. You have bought food and fed the students on credit, you have not paid. Instead of thinking of that, you say you want to bring a bill. A bill to do what? You see, the issue is that you cannot pass a law and make it entrenched on any government, because these laws cannot surpass what is in the Constitution. So they should rather think of amending the Constitution rather than passing a law, because there is a law already, Act 1049, Section 3, making the free SHS policy. Yes.
You are ranking member on Parliament's Education Committee.
Yes.
How do you proceed from here? Are you going to, reject the bill? What's the way forward?
Well, I don't know what the bill is intended to do, but let's see how it comes out. But for me, it is not necessary. It's going to be a waste of parliamentary time, because we have it here. Go and solve the problems, be deviling the system, and when you have solved them, come out with a policy that we can also.
But that means you're going to oppose it. You're going to oppose it when it's laid before Parliament. You will oppose it.
Like this very bill, act I have here, 1049, when Honorable Prempe brought it to Parliament, and we went to, as a committee, discuss it. I told him I would take this matter to court.
So just clarify, the NDC will oppose this bill when it's laid before Parliament?
What I'm saying is I'm going to look at the content, but for me, now it is not a necessity. Let's look at the challenges and solve them.
Okay, so let me ask you.
So the bill must come.
Not the NDC, you, as Peter.
For me, it is not necessary. And I know the minority will share the same view with me.
You will oppose it?
Yes.
Okay.
And opposing it, you see, it is an agenda by the government that they are going to put in the public domain. That, you see, we want to make the free SHS better. NDC is opposing it. That is what they intend to do. We know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do we have Dr. Anti before we just wrap with Professor Stephen Ade? Because Dr. Anti has not... Okay, we've lost Dr. Peter Anti. Professor Stephen Ade, final thoughts on this matter? What's the way forward?
Well, as for politicians, I don't know. They are a different world altogether. I don't know, and nobody knows what is in the so-called bill to be put in Parliament. Every bill will have the reasons and the policies as preamble, and as a result of that, what is going to be done. I am interested in seeing what they are going to put in Parliament, because as soon as they put it in Parliament, then all of us, not only the parliamentarians, have the right to submit our own memoranda as to what to be done, and it takes it away from the bosom of the government to the public domain. And I think that this is what we should, if they are coming out, let them come out so that we will all have opportunity. But this advance possible rejection and saying that we will solve all problems, then we must all be dead, because you are saying that we shouldn't do anything about health until we have solved all problems in health. About mining, that is a good argument. I believe that whatever the law is, if it comes out, it will give some of us an opportunity to know what the government is thinking about, what they were putting forward. Then we will either ask them to be treated, opposed, or rejected. So I support whatever it is. I'm looking forward to seeing what is in it, and I won't comment on it one way or the other until I have seen it. You can't say that because they owe WAEC, they shouldn't do a policy on free SHS. These are totally, to me, the logic to me is unfounded. Yes, they must address those problems, but you say that until you have addressed those problems, don't bring a law, don't bring a policy. We need how to know from them how they are going to deal with these problems and what law they are going to make it binding. And in any case, a law, not a constitution, can be amended by another government. So we shouldn't waste our time on these peripheral political discussions. Let us see the bill. Let us see what is in it so that some of us can make specific comments for the good of Ghana. So far, it is in the bosom of the government. And
thank you, Prof. Thank you for those submissions. And that is Professor Stephen Ade. He is a former rector of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. He joined the conversation as well. I believe we also have, let me just check. Isaac Owusu, yes. The Ghana National Association of Teachers. What will be your final thoughts, Mr. Owusu?
I think going forward, we are expecting our members of parliament to look at the proposed bill and then let the key stakeholders know what is in there to get our inputs, because as I stated earlier on, if we do not have an act directing us as a state on how we should go about this free SHS policy, tomorrow we will sleep and wake up and somebody will say that there is no need for this thing, let's throw it away. It has happened before in the country. So for us as teachers, what we want is a lasting solution to the challenges confronting us in the educational front. That's all that we are seeking for the powers that be.
Thank you, Mr. Owusu. He is president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. We're grateful to you too, Peter Nochu. I've always been calling you Koto. You say it's Kotwe.
Yes.
Okay, so Peter
the E
Nochu.
is not silent.
Kotwe. Okay. I guess I'm Frenchifying
yes.
Peter Nochu Kotwe, a ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament. But stay with us. When we return, we talk health. Now, you know there are critical areas: malaria, tuberculosis, HIV. The Global Fund is telling us that, listen, we've sent you medication, vaccines among others. You are not using them. Until you do, we may have to withdraw some of them. The Ghana Medical Association, on the other hand, is saying that if we don't get some of these in due time, by close of month or end of month, we could be in a dire situation in respect of treating these ailments. But what is the way forward from here? Do stay with us. That conversation on health up next on the AM Show. Welcome back as we delve into health issues, critical issues of health concern. And it's all about treating malaria, tuberculosis, HIV, the Global Fund and what it's given us, how we are not clearing them for use and the threat, so to speak. You can call it saber rattling of the Global Fund. But what does this mean to health per the Ghana Medical Association? They are saying if we don't get those critical items of medication, we could be in dire straits by close of this month. Well, joining us for a conversation, we have Amwabeng Otson. He is president of the Ghana HIV Network, GHANET for short. Mr. Otson, a very good morning to you.
Morning.
Am I getting your second name right? Is it Otson or Otson?
The second one you just mentioned.
Otson.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I got it right the first time. Just had to be sure. How bad is this situation? we have had issues. We've spoken about this. Some months back, we started the conversations, and we are back here. But from where you sit, what you know, what is the real issue at hand here?
Okay, so there's some feedback. I get feedback from me.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. There's no feedback here.
Okay, then that's fine. So when we held the press conference in April, we actually had hope that the government was going to intervene and fully resolve the matter. But then what we had was a very cosmetic approach to solving the problem. So we had the 14 containers removed with fanfare, media in attendance, and all of that. And promise was made that within 1 week, they were going to clear the remaining commodities. But as it turned out, once the 14 was cleared and the attention of the media shifted, everybody went back to sleep. And so they discontinued the process. So we are at a point where the commodities still remain at the ports. The ministry says the GRA, customs, they have moved all the taxes and the other levies. But what is left now is the third-party charges that they need to pay for demurrage, for electricity, and other charges. And government is saying they need 7 million Ghana cedis to be able to do that. And strangely, the government of Ghana cannot find 7 million Ghana cedis to clear this commodity.
You're telling me, Mr. Hodson, that these, after all the fanfare, the 14 containers containing medical valuables, if you like, critical medical supplies, have not left the port. Clarify. One, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
They are still at the port.
And then two, that what the government of Ghana is saying is that it requires 7 million Ghana cedis to pay for other bits like, commodities, port charges, electricity, and the rest. And the government of Ghana is unable to pay 7 million Ghana cedis.
Yes. The entire government of Ghana is unable to find 7 million Ghana cedis anywhere in this country to clear the remaining.
This is baffling, so I have to get down to it. Which entities, I know the GRA boss spoke about waiving the taxes and all of that. I think there was some point where there was talk about the vice president also wading in. I don't know whether the finance ministry, but what has been the engagement from what you know, the medical association and the medical system, let's say the Ghana Health Service, the Ministry of Health, and these authorities, do you know?
Okay, so when the first consignments were cleared 2 months ago, there was a promise that there was going to be this committee comprising members from Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Finance, GRA, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and all of that. But strangely, we've not seen that committee. And if that committee has been established on our land side and they are not working, then that's equally strange. So what I can tell you is that 2 weeks ago, exactly 2 weeks today, the Ghana delegation to the 77th World Health Assembly meeting in Geneva had the opportunity of meeting the Global Fund and its senior officials. The Ghana delegation was led by the Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Dr. Okoboy, and the Director General of the Ghana Health Service was also part of the delegation. The Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, the chairperson was part of the delegation. His ranking member was also part of the delegation. NHIE boss was part of the delegation. So all the people who matter, so far as the health sector in Ghana is concerned, were present at that meeting. And the Global Fund made it very clear that they are highly disappointed in Ghana and what we are doing. Because nothing like this has happened anywhere in the world where commodities have been given to a country, and for whatever reason, the country is refusing to clear them. So they made it known to our officials that if we don't clear the commodities, they are no longer going to fund Ghana, because they have run out of excuses explaining to their donors why they have purchased commodities worth $45 million and they are just fishing in our ports. So the health minister then assured them that by the end of June, he will ensure that these commodities are cleared. Indeed, the entire delegation supported that pledge. But like I said, it's been 2 weeks since we came, and the commodities are still at the port.
And this makes for, because again, it's as though there are commodities to be supplied to different countries across the world. If we are not going to use them, they would have been better off giving them to other countries that would actually put them to use. And these commodities also are not going to be there forever. They have expiration dates. Some of them will expire at some point, which means that by doing this, even if we start using them soon, some of them may go bad within a short period, right?
Yes. So if you look at the bill of lading that came, majority of the commodities are expiring first quarter 2025.
Wow.
And we already halfway through 2024. So it means in a matter of 6 months, some of these commodities will start expiring. They have been there for more than 1 year. We are not even too sure the conditions under which they have been stored. So now nobody can even vouch for the wholesomeness of these commodities when they are brought out. So that's where we are. And the irony is that when we are able to use these medicines, we have to destroy them. And the destruction costs a lot of money, because you cannot just go and haphazardly dispose of those commodities. So we will then incur extra costs in destroying something that our people so badly needed. We're in the rainy season. This is a time malaria cases go up. We have bed nets stuck at the ports. This is the time we normally give them to pregnant women, children under 5, so they can use. If you go to our lorry stations and other places, you see people sleeping in the open because they cannot afford accommodation. They use these bed nets to, protect themselves from mosquito bites. But then these nets are just wasting away, getting rotten at the port, and nobody seems to care.
And we're in a country where recently we said we were greening Ghana. Nothing wrong with that. How many millions did we spend? But for the healthcare needs of children, insecticide-treated nets, among others, we can't find 7 million Ghana cedis.
It's very strange. What really pleased my heart is that when it comes to HIV, for example, Ghana, this year, we are celebrating 20 years since we introduced antiretroviral medications in this country. There were a lot of young people born to HIV positive parents, and these children have survived because of antiretroviral drugs. A lot of them have reached the adolescent age. They are in secondary schools, they are in our universities, other tertiary institutions, and the continuous existence of these young people depend on these drugs. So if the Global Fund today says they are stopping all these medications, how do we expect these young people who through no fault of theirs were born with a virus? And even when the commodity is given to us for free, we cannot clear them. So if Global Fund stops, which money are we going to prioritize to buy these medications? So it's a very, very messy situation we find ourselves in.
Is there a real likelihood, on the back of how we have angered the Global Fund and on the back of our own ineptitude in the country? I mean, you have the thing and you've waited so long, you can't clear it. A lot of it may expire within first quarter 2025. You would have to pay to destroy the medicines properly when that happens and all that. But do you feel that there's the reality that we may not benefit as much from the Global Fund on the back of this error that we've committed?
The Global Fund exists to support resource-constrained countries. And their priority has always been the vulnerable in society. But for them, they would have just cut funding to this country. So what is happening is that the Global Fund will continue to fund us if we clear these commodities, because that's their mission. What is very ironical about this whole situation is that the inspiration behind the establishment of the Global Fund is our own late Kofi Annan, who during his tenure as UN Secretary General pushed for the establishment of this fund. So symbolically, Ghana was the very first country to sign a Global Fund grant agreement. And since 2002, we have received up to $1.3 billion in support. All the campaigns that the Ghana AIDS Commission and the NGOs used to have back in the day were all sponsored by the Global Fund. Now, all the treatments we are paying for persons living with HIV, and there are about 250,000 of them on treatment. 250,000 on treatment. So you can imagine what will happen if this kind of treatment stops. So the Global Fund is committed to the people, but they made it known to our officials that they are not happy with the way the issue has been handled, because this is the first time anywhere in the world a situation like this is occurring.
And Mr. Otson, I know, for example, that there has been new technology when it comes to HIV and AIDS, self-testing to encourage people who may feel, oh, if I go to this place, I may be stigmatized, and all of that. I don't know how that is going to be affected. But the Ghana Medical Association has expressed fears of shortages of critical health amenities if these containers are not cleared by end of month. So I'm going to ask you a pointed question. What do you think the effect will be on healthcare generally, but also specifically with a focus on HIV and AIDS treatment?
Okay, so the HIV commodities were cleared in April after our press conference. So what we have in there now are the TB and malaria. So let's start with TB.
So are you saying HIV is not a concern for now? HIV is not a concern for now?
HIV is a concern to the extent that the stock in country will run out starting from July.
Oh, wow.
And the Global Fund is unable to replenish because of all these situations we have at our hands where we have not been able to clear the that were given to us.
Okay, so let me clarify. Let me just clarify. So while we took stock in April or thereabouts of the HIV supplies, we can't get more supplies to replenish and we'll be out of stock in July because of this problem that we've not cleared the remaining for tuberculosis and malaria. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That is one of the problems. The second problem is that the government pledged to procure some more antiretroviral drugs to support what the Global Fund gives us. As we speak, the contract we are told was worth about $17 million. And only 6% of those drugs have been supplied. So it means that in an emergency situation, we need to fall back on the Global Fund. And Global Fund is saying that if you don't clear these commodities, I'm not going to give you more commodities. Now, the effect of that is what I explained to you. When you're on treatment, either for HIV or TB, the moment you go off treatment, you develop resistance against the virus. So when you go back again, the medication doesn't work. In the case of TB, you know, it's a highly infectious disease. So we are going to have a very serious epidemic on our hands, where all the people who are on treatment will not have completed, and so they will become highly infectious this time, and all people who are close to them will be getting infected with. Meanwhile, the government of Ghana says it is unable to buy TB medicine because of our own procurement laws, and we rely only on Global Fund. So it's a very critical situation we have on our hands. And I agree with the Ghana Medical Association. There are a lot of health workers who have concerns, but those who are on government payroll, well, may be unreluctant to come out because, fears of, being, victimized and so on and so forth. So it's only civil society, it's only associations, labor groups at this point that can come out. So I really appreciate the support of the Ghana Medical Association in this matter. We need all other unions, all other associations to intervene in this matter. And if we go on demonstration on 25th of June, we are counting on the support of all of these various groups. Because we have come to the point where it looks like the only thing that can resolve this matter is a mass public demonstration.
All right, so final words. Where does this leave us? And are you then saying that we must embark on this demonstration for something to be done? What form will this demonstration take?
So what we are doing is to talk to our members in all the 16 regions.
How many are your members?
Okay, so we are 6 networks. Ghana HIV and AIDS Network, Stop TB Partnership, TB Voice Network, Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health, Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Malaria, and then a network of persons living with HIV. So all of these 6 networks have their members across the country. And so what we are doing is to mobilize all of them. So we organize a simultaneous demonstration on 25th of June. We want this to be as massive as it can get so that we can register a very deep impact on government, and hopefully they will listen. Because the first time we held a press conference, they in a knee-jerk reaction, brought out the first 14 containers. So this time we need to make sure that our action is strong enough. And by inviting the general public, health is everyone's concern. We all get malaria. I have already treated malaria this year. All of us get malaria. So imagine you go to a health facility and you can't get a injection, but then the injections are, at the port. How do we do this on this? So we are calling on all Ghanaians, let's mount pressure on government to release these commodities. And when we have to go on demonstration, let's all join and support this demonstration.
Mr. Otson, thank you so much for enriching the conversation this morning. Mr. Amwabeng Otson is president of the Ghana HIV Network, GHANET for short. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, too.
Well, that is what we can bring you on this beat as far as health is concerned. But we've opened up the issues for discussion, and hopefully action is taken, because we are not immune to some of these diseases that are being made mention of. And our brothers and sisters who may have them, especially children, mosquito nets, insecticide-treated nets and all of that. What kind of country are we? Well, stay with us. We'll be right back with some more before we wrap the conversations on the AM show. We'll be back. Welcome back on the AM show.
You see what I mean? Copycat.
Who copied whom?
You. Obviously.
Anyway.
Before we get into the rest of the show this morning, I have important messages for you, starting with attention all HD Plus subscribers. Starting 13th of June 2024, SHS HD Plus Ghana will provide HD channels to free-to-air TV homes at no cost. This means that all users of the multi-TV platform will have access to HD channels without paying HD Plus subscriptions. Key points to remember. 1. As of 16th April 2024, no new HD Plus subscription purchases or activations will be available. Existing HD Plus decoders will receive free-to-air channels till 13th of June 2024, coming up shortly. 2. Subscribers with active subscriptions beyond 13th June will be compensated. Such customers will be contacted by the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from the 30th of April. Now, such subscribers are encouraged to call the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from the 1st of June. So if you haven't done that, do. And 3, from 30th of May 2024, update your HD Plus decoder to access the new free-to-air HD channels. Support will be available until the 20th of June 2024. So kindly look out for the over-the-air software and upgrade your decoder upon release of the software. For users of compatible Samsung QLED and UHD integrated TV sets, should note that the My HD Plus TV app and My HD Plus mobile app will not be available from the 30th of May 2024. Now, to redeem subscriptions compensation, confirm your HD Plus number, provide a valid Ghana card ID, and a mobile money number by the 30th of April 2024. HD Plus will issue the last batch of compensation by the 20th of June 2024 and will not be liable to make any payment if subscribers remain unreachable or do not follow up with the call center on 0242 439 872 before the deadline. We thank all cherished customers for the patronage. We are ushering in a new era of television in Ghana, ensuring that accessibility and quality entertainment go hand in hand.
Well, let me also tell you about the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel. Escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, dubbed or christened Drapa Dubai. You have seen the rest. Now it's time to see the best. Take a break from work and take a break from the south. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai, is the place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. I think I need some of that. It is away from the stress of the south. Now, this is what awaits you. 1, an unforgettable safari experience. You get to see an amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamuses, zebras, ostriches, among many others, using our spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or using quad bikes. Vroom, vroom, let's go. Water sports such as jet skiing, boat or canoe rides, and various family games to keep you and your families excited every day. We also have great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves, etc. So escape from the south, escape to the north, escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai for an unforgettable safari experience. Just call 0501 694 280 or 0248 844 463 for reservations or further inquiries now. Well, this is how we're going to be capping off the show shortly, but let's take our photo of the day. Let's stick to tradition on this one. Would you like to do us the honors?
Is that Homowo?
Gamami.
Gamami. It's a procession of beautifully clad women in the traditional outfit of the Ga people. I don't know what the festival is, what the celebration is, but it's beautifully captured by the Caleb Mensah. Is the way they're able to balance the calabash on their head for me, you know, it never falls. The Caleb Mensah.
And the bit about the skin markings and then those leaves. What are they called again? I've forgotten. I've been told before. But yes, they look resplendent. They look beautiful in them as they mark tradition. But that's our photo of the day for you today. And interestingly, of course, There's a bit of green in there, matching the colors of yours truly and this lady who has decided to be a copycat, copying me all the time. Because of that, just to claim the bragging rights, she even added green tinted glasses, frames, so that she would be able to.
This is how we do. I think.
Thankfully, your shoes are not green.
No, but they will be tomorrow.
That's where I beat you, because I have a tinge of green in my shoes.
You have a great fashion sense. You know, your style is always unique. I hardly meet somebody else who dresses up the way you do.
There is only one Benjamin Akakpo. Bakope.
You will too.
And that's how we cap off the show today. Sweetie Abochi is my name, and she is.
Oh, I'm Benjamin Akakpo, and it's always our pleasure to come and sit here and do this. We'll see you again tomorrow, but Johnny's Desk is up next with Faustina Sabo.